Everyone, welcome to another edition of the Final Down NFL podcast. With me, Jim, Finn, Punk Raider, and Emma Dave. We're here to talk about the NFL draft. And boys, how are we doing?
Big one.
The big day.
Well, hang on,
Mhm.
hang on, hang on. I thought I was done for the season. Now all of a sudden I've got to do this behemoth talking thing where
Yep.
you're just not paying me enough. It's just not good enough. I
I'm going to
demand
be
a trade.
honest. This mock draft, this is the only reason I put up with you bunch of shysters throughout the year, because this is the one I enjoy doing. I mean, Finn only shows up
Mhm.
3 times a year and gets to do
I
this.
know.
and
I'm
to
so
take his
surprised I'm
lead.
doing this one, to be honest.
Shots fired early.
Yeah, boy.
We are here to do the mock draft, the Final Down mock draft. Last year, we absolutely smashed it. I think it was, 10 picks we got right?
A lot.
It was,
Something like that.
It was a bloodbath
I got
compared to
right.
the
Basic,
others.
basically 100%.
Jim
Almost
got a
100%.
couple.
Might as well have been.
I think
Depends
probably the
competition.
most important stat from the last couple of years is that between us, Dave and I, and Finn
Yes.
last year as well, have managed to pick the Steelers correctly for
Uh,
at
three-
least 4 years.
No,
3 years?
3 years running. 3 years
3
running.
years
Mm.
running.
Going all the way back to Najee
Good luck
Harris.
this year. So we are here to do our mock draft. Now we do it a little bit differently in that because there are four of us, and only two of us have bothered looking into the players before today. It will be on Dave and I to be in air quotes chief scouts for two different GMs as we work our way down through the first round. All 32 teams are represented this year. It's not often that happens, but we have actually got all 32 teams picking in the first round. There may be trades. That'll be interesting to see how that goes. Obviously, it depends on where players fall, but we'll work on it as we go. It's going to be in an even and odds term. So, Punk, you have the odds, and Finn, you have the evens as GM. Okay, so
Yeah, I understand. Apparently, I'm very odd. So,
Amen. Would you like to know what the over and under is on first round trades from the bookies this year?
Yes,
it's not. I
please.
don't reckon it's very high. What,
Two
Up,
3?
right, surely.
2.5.
Yeah.
That's
take
the
that
over and
action.
under. I'm not sure. Everyone's still holding on. I don't think, and that doesn't include any that have
Well,
already
no
been
one.
actioned. I don't know if there has been any, but
The problem you've got, I think, is the fact there's only a couple of quarterbacks that are, consensus picks for
yeah.
the first round. So therefore, you haven't got that mad scramble of everyone trying to get into the top five.
That is true, but there are also positional needs that are going to be sought after,
Mm.
and so we may see a run later on in the round. But that's the fun about a mock, you know. Let's see how it all shakes out. We're going to start with the number one pick in the NFL draft this year. Somehow, the Tennessee Titans have that honor, and as it's an odd number, Punk, as our resident GM, you are now Mike Borgonzi. Obviously, Mike Borgonzi was the Chiefs assistant GM until this is his first full NFL draft as a responsible GM.
So what you're saying is I've actually got more experience than he has at doing this job.
Absolutely, yeah. So
I'd say so.
what are we going to do here? Do you want to
Okay.
go through the list of needs?
So Tennessee Titans, main needs, went with 3 for the Titans, quarterback, wide receiver, and defensive end. Now, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, ooh, what do I really need? And of course, I've spent a season watching Will Levis just be objectively dreadful.
Mm.
So I think in the first round, at the top of the draft, this is a good opportunity for me to look at a quarterback. I think there's only really a pick of 2, aren't there, chaps?
Pretty much. Jim, I'll let you go first because I've gone a bit rogue on my side of it.
What a surprise. Well, let's be
Manning's
very
not coming out
conservative.
this year, Dave.
We'll see.
At the risk of being too boring at the first overall pick, this one has been mocked to death, and it would be Cam Ward, the quarterback from Florida. Don't know how much you've seen of this guy, but he really is kind of the only number one or first round draft pick, and the bona fide one anyway. He kind of does a bit of everything. We talk about where we'd have gone last year because there were obviously 6 quarterbacks taken in the top 12 last year. I think he still would have been one of the top 3, in my personal opinion.
Not so sure,
Not in
but
Dave's.
it
Not
would
in
have been
Dave's
there
opinion.
or thereabouts. I think he's very good.
He can just
Certainly
kind of
the
do
number one.
everything. He's
Yep.
so cool. He's so cool. He's got that kind of Jaden Daniels mentality, but he's got the athleticism to move away from people. He's got the arm to get it in there. The only slightly frustrating thing is I think he's going to be close to a Caleb Williams first season in that he was able to get away with a few too many things at Florida. and you're just going to have to bear that in mind, that it's not going to put you in the playoffs first season. I don't think it's not going to be a Jaden Daniels. It's going to be more of a Caleb Williams, where, all right, he's great, he's able to think about stuff on the run, but it might take a year or two. You need to put more things around him. So that's my thoughts on Cam Ward. But he, in all aspects, is the best quarterback in this situation, and I think he should go number one.
Yep. The only thing I'd want to throw out there as a potential to this, because they will take him, they should take him, yada yada yada. There is a possibility that they throw out the first overall pick for an existing quarterback in the league because they've got lots and lots of draft cap space. Or cap space rather. So there is the possibility they can just go out and go, do you know what? We'll give the first overall pick for your quarterback to an existing team. Now, one team that I can say that potentially might be interested in that is Jacksonville. So let's say they go to Jacksonville and go, we'll trade you the first overall pick for Trevor Lawrence. Would Jacksonville be
In
interested?
division?
Well, you know what I'm saying.
In division?
I'm just saying that there's the possibility that they could go to someone and offer them the first overall pick for their quarterback if there is a suitor. Now, I'm not sure that they would, and I think they'll pick Cam Ward, and this would only happen on Madden, but that's the only alternative I could come up with to Cam Ward not going first overall.
So, having seen Trevor Lawrence play, especially last season, I'm not sure he'd be much of an upgrade on Will Levis, to be honest. So, first overall pick in the final down NFL mock draft, the Tennessee Titans select Cam Ward.
Beautiful. And we're still not going to hit the area of all of the draft nerds out there. So, yes, we're going to draft Cam Ward, number one overall. And we move on to number two, and that is the Cleveland Browns. And that, of course, means Finn. As our other GM, you are now
Absolutely.
Andrew Berry.
Feels weird, but yeah.
Yeah. Was it fifth year now for Berry in the league as the GM? What do you want?
I want a lot, to be honest with you, Jim.
Yeah. A winning season would be nice, wouldn't it?
A winning season would be nice. Actually, a team that could play football would be nice, but we're here to pick players. So obvious gaping hole is quarterback. But also I think we need some support in the receiver room. Anything on the offensive line to protect our QB, whether that be someone that I take in a moment or whether that be someone we have on the roster. We'll see. And then also a running back wouldn't go amiss as well. But those, I think the QB, offensive line and receiving room would be my top three. So obviously Cam Ward is gone. I believe there's a little bit of a gulf between him and the other QBs, but I'll let you boys take over and feed me the report.
Okay. Well, we have a unicorn in this draft. I think Dave would agree.
Yeah.
And his name is Travis Hunter from Colorado. He is famous now for playing both wide receiver and cornerback through the entire season for Colorado. Something that doesn't happen anymore, not since like the 60s players were doing that. But he actually managed to not only survive but thrive at both of those positions. He is, in many people's opinions, the best wide receiver in the draft. And then they ask other people and they think he's a better cornerback. So, yeah. Dave, obviously you're a Colorado fan, so I'm going to let you talk about Hunter a bit more than me. But just thought I'd let you know.
Quite simply, he's the best wide receiver in this draft, and he's the best cornerback in this draft. He's a threat on both sides of the ball. He's someone who's dominated consistently as well. And I think he's one of those guys also who I think anytime he's on the field is attracting attention. So if you can bring him in, teams are so worried about him that, you know, he's sometimes double, triple teamed. His yards after the catch are fantastic. His ability to stop and go and create separation through that rather than just raw pace, because the thing we see in college all the time is just the raw pace element of it. He's got really, really safe hands, reads the ball well on defense, and he plays every single snap. So durability, I mean, it's already proven. The only thing you might be worried about slightly is the fact that, you know, there's already a lot of tread on those tires. The thing for Cleveland, I think, is Andrew Berry is consistent, talked about him. And now when you're a GM who's thrust into the limelight as much as Andrew Berry is, and He loves a press conference. He's spoken a lot about Travis Hunter and said that he's a unicorn and the generational talent that a team like any team would like, and a team like Cleveland can really hang their hat on. I think he is the consensus pick for number 2 overall for me. If you're going to go alternative, then maybe you look at quarterback, but I think they've brought enough in. They've got 3 quarterbacks on their roster. I think they're tied to one of them. They're certainly tied to, but they brought in Kenny Pickett. They bought Flacco back, who is only a year ago, only a year removed from Flacco actually winning awards. He come back Player of the Year with Cleveland. So I think there's enough there, and they can say, let's take the generational player and run next year, and if we're down near the bottom, then we'll get a quarterback. But right now, in all honesty, I think they'd be dumb to take anyone but Travis Hunter. But I'm a fanboy because I'm a Colorado fan, so it is what it is.
He's also a complete angel. Like, there's nothing that goes wrong with, there's no bad stories that come out from Travis Hunter.
No,
a real Boy Scout. The only problem you're going to have is that he's demanding to play both sides still in the NFL, and so you're going to need to be on board with that, or at least placate him until he figures out whether he can do it or not at the next level.
And Andrew Berry has said that he should play both sides of the ball.
Well, yes.
For me, that's the key. It's him realizing that he's just not physically going to be able to, not for a 17-game season at NFL level
or 18 games.
Yes, I think you're right. If you are going to pick up a dual threat player like this, you need to.
It's got to take management.
Yeah,
but what a weapon! Someone you can bring in on special packages.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and
defense, or whatever.
Exactly. If you have special packages for him, then great. But
he can't play every snap.
He's not going to play every snap, both sides of the ball. He's not going to play Iron Man football in the NFL. It's just not going to happen.
Last thing was he did win the Heisman as well this year, so he beat out Ashton Jeanty for that award.
And if you look at the depth chart because he's most likely probably going to start on offense. It's easier to start on offense as a wide receiver. Look at the depth chart for who they've got. They've got Jerry Jeudy. That's pretty much it. Then you're looking at Michael Woods, David Bell, Cedric Tillman. There's no one. They need wide receivers, so you're filling that that need. In terms of cornerback, you've got Denzel Ward and then a whole load of youngsters. Greg Newsom's almost played nickel more than he has corner, but he's obviously talented. Other than that, it's Tony Brown. He fields a need both sides. So again, I think you'd be daft not
to. I'm happy with the general consensus coming out of the scouting room. I think, like we said, there's enough pieces in the QB room that is a bit of a makeshift situation, but enough to sort of get through. And if you've got a generational talent like Hunter supporting, then I think it'd be silly not to. And then if we're up the creek with that paddle next season, then we can look to the QB room. So with the second pick, I'm going to take Travis Hunter.
We will disagree soon enough, I promise you. All right, but just for right now, it's you can't really overlook him. That's the real problem. Is you're getting a twofer basically. You're getting one of the best receivers in the draft, if not the best receiver, and you're getting someone that'll play cornerback. It's a no-brainer,
if you had the second and the third overall pick, so if you had both of them, and you picked up the number 1 wide receiver and the number 1 cornerback, you'd be like, I've had a brilliant go. You know what I mean? You'd be coming away from it going, excellent, fantastic, brilliant. Right, let's go. They're doing that in 1 pick, effectively. So you don't need to worry about it. So I think it's a massive success.
So we move on to the third pick in the draft, and that is the New York Football Giants. And that means back to Punk as the GM. So you are now Joe Schoen, one of the most talented GMs in the NFL, clearly. So what do we need?
Well, I've done a bit of wheeler dealering, and I've kind of band-aided my quarterback issues for at least a season. Okay. So my positions of need, I suppose, are offensive line, cornerback, defensive line, and probably a quarterback of the future. I think I'm quite happy to kind of roll with Wilson and Winston and see what I've got. Oh, and Tommy DeVito, of
Of
course.
course, yeah. Don't forget Tommy
Um,
DeVito.
so I think I can get away with it this year and maybe put together a bit more around when we bring a rookie in, possibly next year. So I'm going to look for an offensive lineman.
Ooh, excellent.
Okay.
Well, that helps me actually because I was going to suggest an offensive lineman. A lot of people are picking Abdul Carter here as the natural number 3 pick, who's the best edge rusher in the draft. But my problem with Abdul Carter is that if you do take him for the Giants, you're going to have to try and trade Kayvon Thibodeau for a discount fee because you can't have both of them in the room at the same time.
Well, I think he's more like Brian Burns than he is Kadon Thibodeau.
I think that he would want to be screaming off the edge, and I think as Punk has quite sagely seen, you need to build up your offensive line first before you start worrying about hurting the other quarterback. So I was going to suggest Will Campbell, the tackle from LSU. He's a 3-year starter there. He's been absolutely mustard. He moves players in the run game. He holds up one-on-one in the pass game. The Giants have tried and failed to fix their offensive line. They've only got one good lineman at the moment in Andrew Thomas. Will Campbell can be the other guy to bookend. So I would definitely suggest Will Campbell on this one.
If you are married to having an offensive tackle, Will Campbell is your
Me, I'm
guy.
not married to anything. I just,
He's not as a Raider, no.
Then
I'm
Will
just telling you
Campbell's
what
your
I need.
guy. I think it would be a public relations success if you could say 1 year after being humiliated as you were by letting Saquon Barkley go, going, look, we've got Ashton Jeanty. I think that's a massive success.
Oh,
Only reason
It's
being,
interesting.
no one's really talking about it, and all the Giants fans will go, "Wow, we've got that." Yes, it's early. Yes, it's a running back. I get that. I think we're kind of numb to the fact that it's a running back going this early. Number one, because the Giants have done it before with Saquon, and it worked out well. And number two, everyone kind of knows for the Giants. I think it did. It worked out very well.
They
Not
won
in the terms
2
of
games with him the last season.
not in terms of their success, but in terms of what he did there. In terms of what he did there, because if we're only judging it on people's success, then we say everyone who's ever been picked by the Chiefs has been a brilliant draft pick. Well, he hasn't. It depends on what they've done, and it's undoubtedly Saquon did well. If you could, if Giants fans finish night 1 with Ashton Jeanty, you will be extremely happy as a Giants fan. So if you want to tackle and are married to that position, go with Will Campbell, LSU, solid. Undoubtedly the tackle one. If you want to be a bit different and want to actually fix the ridicule that you've had from the last year, and all of that process was recorded and everyone got to see that and how much of balls up you made of it, go and pick Ashton Jeanty. The other thing I'd say is recently the Giants have invested an enormous amount of capital into that offensive line. And there's the argument to be made of the offensive, Ashton Jeanty won't be as great because the offensive line isn't great. They've still got Evan Neal, who you can develop. They've still got Andrew Thomas, who is very good. Andrew Thomas is very good. The center, not too keen about. I can't remember what his name is, but they traded him not too long ago. I forget his name. I think Ashton Jeanty is a better pickup this early on than Will Campbell is.
I can't believe he's gone Jeanty that early, but I should have known.
Can I, as the assistant GM?
Yes, you can, and you should as well.
I would just like to put out there that normally Dave comes out with some very bold decisions and calls, and I believe this is also one, but it's one I don't actually hate.
I don't hate it, but I worry about what it would do to Tyrone Tracy, who was my breakout running back last year.
Tyrone Tracy is a fantastic 2. And if you can bring in Ashton Jeanty, because Ashton Jeanty is not a 3-down back in the league, I don't think. He's not a guy who you're going to relieve. He's not a guy you're going to want in certain situations. As Jim said, pass protection. As you say, short yardage key, 3rd downs. Tracy, I think, is. But I'm interrupting. I digress. So carry on, guys.
Well, I just think the problem with Jeanty is that it's a bit like a one-night stand, a drunken one-night stand. It's like, it was amazing at the time when you wake up in the morning, like, oh my God, we could have fixed our own line and we've just picked up these sexy running backs.
But do you know what? I look back to all of the one-night stands I've had and I remember all those fellas with glee, and it makes me smile.
Well, good for you, Dave.
Yeah, exactly.
Good for you.
No, even the bad one-night stands still make you smile, don't they?
I think that I think that you have been ridiculed for giving away your one skill position, but not doing anything normal, and you need to be sensible. And so you can't triple down and now pick another running back behind your god awful line. Be sensible. Do something that everyone's gonna go, that was the best thing to do. Protect whatever quarterback is jittering around in there, whether it's Russell Wilson or Jameis Winston. Give them a couple of seconds to try and find Malik Neighbors, who's your big skill position, and let's move on from that. Let's get some passing going. Let's not worry about another running game.
Punk, what you're left with here, you walked into a nightclub and you see a sexy librarian who's, got all loads of money in her pension, and she's, very sensible, and she's probably the right choice. Or you got a really gorgeous, curvy, lovely lady who you know is going to give you a great time. What are you picking?
Unfortunately, Dave, I'm not picking for the Dallas Cowboys. So,
well, there's also that
in mind.
There's also that scope of the fact that if you don't pick up Ashton Jeanty now, there's the possibility he could end up going to the Cowboys. So you
never know.
You're not picking for them. You kind of
are. Jim, I think you're right. I think if having been burnt last year by the Saquon deal and all the rest of it, I have to just get some credibility back in the building. I have to give Neighbors a chance to shine. Otherwise, I'm going to be losing him in the next couple of years.
Yep.
So I've got to start building from the trenches out. Yes, we have poured a lot of money into our offensive line, but that doesn't hurt when you're this high up in the draft to take the overall consensus best lineman. So with the number 3 pick, the New York Football Giants will select Will Campbell.
Wow.
Can I just say, if you really wanted to help Malik Neighbors, you wouldn't have signed Russell Wilson. Just saying, just throwing that out there.
Now you're assuming there that Russell Wilson is going to start. It could very well be that Jameis Winston is our starter.
Oh, even better.
Oh,
Ben, you are now Elliot Wolf of the New England Patriots, another first-timer as a GM.
There we go.
What
time to set a legacy. Time to build a new legacy. Awesome. Well, we've got our shiny star quarterback last year, and we're happy with him, but we need supporting cast. We need someone that he can throw to. Mm-hmm. That'd be huge. But a bigger position need, I would say, is offensive lineman. We need to protect him. We need to allow time to get the ball away, and also introduce a bit more of a run game. Would also be tempted by a corner, but I think the offensive line or wide receiver are bigger needs. So can we continue the trend and go with some offensive line, please, chaps?
I'll let you go first, Dave.
No, in a word. Only reason being, I don't think there's an enormous amount of value to be had here. The number 1 pick would be on Mbembu, but he is a right tackle, which I'm not sure you want to be picking up a right tackle this early. The depth at tackle is decent, so the difference between the 4th ranked tackle and the 10th ranked tackle, I don't think is that much. I think there's value to be had in waiting until maybe the 2nd or 3rd round. I give you 2 options, and I know I'm only allowed to give you 1, but I'm going to give you 2. You've either got a guy who can rush from the outside or a guy who rush from the inside. The guy from the outside is Abdul Carter. My comp for him is Micah Parsons, and the guy who rushed from the inside is Mason Graham. And my comp for him is the lad whose name I'm forgetting, who plays for the Raiders. What's his name he got from Miami? Christian Wilkins. So they're my 2 comps. They're the only things I suggest you pick right now, because if you don't, you will be lynched by your own fans. Go and get a pass rusher.
I have a 3rd option then.
Go on.
Ashton Jeanty. No. That is that you pick up the phone. We've talked about trades in this. I want to suggest for you, Finn, as you know, as Dave quite rightly said, there are quite a few good tackles still available, even though Will Campbell's just been taken. I think you might want to pick up the phone to, say, the Carolina Panthers, who would bite your arm off to come up to 4 and take one Abdul Carter as an edge rushing specimen. So you have the chance to move down 4 spots and pick up extra picks in this draft. I'm talking about a 2nd round pick. probably next year's second or next year's third. We can do that if you want. If you're not happy, if you think that you can get more value later on, the Patriots have a chance to move out for let's say it, desperate Panthers to do something on defense. They were atrocious last year on defense. Couldn't catch a cold. This guy instantly transforms that defense. After they gave away Brian Burns as well, so they need to put something in there that's going to probably pressure the quarterback and the running back, whoever's stupid enough to keep holding the ball after 2 seconds in the backfield against them. So that would be my other option there, is to trade away the pick to the Panthers and the Panthers to pick up Abdul Carter.
Finn, before you have your 2 pennies worth, what does your assistant think, Punk?
You could really do with something on the offensive line. You really struggled on offense last year. You can't provide Drake May with anything at all. The trade is a possibility. How many picks have the Patriots got overall in this draft?
They've got quite a few, but again, it's Elliott Wolf's first.
The other problem you'll have is Vrabel is a defensive guy, so he might want to pick himself a defensive juggernaut early doors. I think my advice would probably be accept the trade, but it's up to you, Mr. GM. Or alternatively, just pick up the defensive end that is sat there.
That Dave has mentioned.
Dave has already mentioned.
So the Patriots have the 4th overall. They have the 6th pick in the second round, the 5th pick in the third round, 13th pick in the third round. That's from Atlanta. So they've got 4 picks in the first 100. After that, it's all lower picks. So what would be on the table here from a team is what are the Panthers going from? Panthers are going from 8th to 4th.
So it's four spots. They'd give up their second round pick, so 57th, and the 2026 third round, I reckon, would get that done.
Yeah, but even that might be a bit rich. So,
they are desperate.
Maybe a 2 and a 5 this year or something.
I think
there's nothing having more picks.
And this is exactly it. I think the position we are in is pretty dire. We have no protection for May, and whilst I see the benefit in having a world-class edge rusher in Abdul Carter, I think we need as much as we can get to really take a significant step forward and try and return back to the former glory days of the Patriots. So, you know what? I'm going to accept the trade, and I am going to take as much as I can on the offensive line with all the extra picks I get.
That
sounds sensible.
We've done a successful trade there, boys. So, okay.
I disagree with that, but I as part of this process, I will accept.
You're throwing Ashton Jeanty out every 2 seconds.
It's not true.
He didn't offer it. Would have taken him.
Yeah. Well, he just said one either Abdul Carter or Mason Graham, so that's fair enough.
True story.
Let's lock in that. So there we go. So that is the first 4 picks done, and I think we've already moved off what a lot of mocks I've seen.
That might not be a good thing. Just saying.
I think it is a good thing. on previous form, I think it's a good thing. So that was Carolina moving up for Abdul Carter. Let's move on to another big cat, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars picking at 5. So Punk, you are James Glasden, another first-time GM. You've got Liam Cohen, a first-time head coach, as your new head coach there. What are we doing here?
I really, really need that offense to do something. The defense worked in fits and spurts. Yes, it needs some engineering, but offense is where I'm looking. In an ideal world, I'd take an offensive lineman or a wide receiver. I could be tempted by a defensive lineman, though, if there's better value there. So I think initially at this point, I'll take whatever's higher on your scout reports, whether that be a wide receiver or an offensive lineman for the Jaguars.
Well, there is one other unicorn alert in this draft, and we've mentioned him already. It's Ashton Jeanty. So I'm suggesting to go for the Jags.
That's not come from Dave, this.
It's not come from Dave. This is now coming from me. I think this is the highest that Genty can go. And why the hell not? We know that the Jags like taking up running backs in round one. They took Travis Etienne when they drafted Trevor because he played the same team. It was a bit of a sweetener for Trevor Lawrence. Travis Etienne hasn't worked out. Either injury or average are the two things that spring to mind when you think about Travis Etienne. So why not do what everyone doesn't want you to do and pick a player that's actually going to cause some disruption? And that is Ashton Genty out of Boise State. Dave knows the stat lines. He just broke everything last year at Boise State. The contact balance is ridiculous. He doesn't go down until he scored a touchdown. I just think that you want to do something fun. We're in the business of making dreams. And Ashton Genty's one of those guys, If you believe in him, the Jags fans will go mental if this happens because they'll be so happy. He's basically the next coming of LaDainian Tomlinson, Marshawn Lynch to hear people talk about him. So why not go for it? You can always get a lineman in round 2 or another wide receiver. You've already got Brian Thomas Jr. there at wide receiver. Let's give him someone else to worry about. Let's give him Ashton Genty.
Dave?
So I think that as good as it would be to go and get Ashton Genty for the Jags, I would float Mason Graham because the interior line of Jacksonville, the interior defensive line for Jacksonville is atrocious. They were 28th in overall sacks last year. And they very rarely even applied pressure, let alone actually got sacks. Mason Graham would help that enormously. So he'd slot in with either side of Josh Hines, Eric Armstead, and Trayvon Walker. So that line immediately becomes better with Mason Graham in there. And we could see the return of Saxonville. Now, the main reason I'm not going to pitch Ashton Genty is because in recent years that's where Jacksonville is where running backs go to die. But they've also got Travis Etienne, who is good.
Maurice Jones-Drew.
Okay,
he had a great career
there. Travis Etienne, who is good, and Tank Bigsby, who is also very good. So I don't think necessarily it's a need.
For Etienne.
Brilliant, go and get someone next year. I don't think necessarily you need to go and spend this type of currency on someone like Ashton Genty, as great as he is. I think Mason Graham would be a better sell to your fan base and to the rest of the NFL, and would show that you mean business. Ashton Genty is the flashier pick without any shadow of a doubt. But for me, I don't even think Ashton Genty should be in this conversation. I think the two choices should be Mason Graham or Tyler Warren, but that's a separate conversation. So I would pick Mason Graham.
You don't take a tight end in the top 5 picks, Dave. And Mason Graham, as you can see,
don't usually take a running back in the top 5 either.
Yeah, you do. What, Saquon Barkley?
1. Brock Bowers.
He wasn't taking top 5.
Don't care. Times are changing.
Was 13.
Yeah, 13, exactly.
It doesn't matter what I'm saying. Is times are changing. Look at what Brock Bowers did last year. That means that increases the value. So the fact you're going to take your top 5.
Tight end is becoming a more
exactly
well-respected position. Now Saquon Barkley has made running backs a bit sexier again, but they're still massively undervalued in the league. So I think there are a lot of teams that will shy away from drafting a running back, even if they are a unicorn, just because it's a running back, to be honest. And let's be real here. The Jaguars have got holes all over the place.
They love a bit of flash, though. Jalen Ramsey.
They do. But if I'm a first-time coach with a first-time GM and a first-time everything, I don't want to go making splashes and ending up in this same position next year. I want to do something sensible.
But look what Liam Cohen did last year with. Sorry,
I was just going to say, Finn. What's your thought process at the minute?
My thoughts are I'm leading with Dave. I think the running backs we have in the building are enough. I wouldn't say we need to go and make a splash and bring in a new flashy running back. I think we have enough in the room to get us through that side, and we can cross the running back bridge when it comes to it. I would say we need to shore up the line. So I'd be leaning to side with Dave's recommendation.
I would just say, he is a unicorn piece. You won't get Ashton Jeanty any lower down in this draft. So Jacksonville, if you pass up in now, you'll never get him again. And I can pitch you over defensive tackles later on in the draft that are 90, 85% Mason Graham. It's whether you want to do that or not. Like I said, Liam Cohen is an offensive head coach. You brought him in to get the most out of Trevor Lawrence. You won't get the most out of Trevor Lawrence if you pick up Mason Graham.
Well, I will, because in theory, I'll give Trevor Lawrence more series with the ball.
Yeah, but you'll still take the pressure off him by making them focus on Ashton Jeanty, so he can then have a chance to
Travis Etienne
to Brian Thomas.
Travis Etienne is one of his best friends from Clemson, but
yeah, it hasn't worked out.
It hasn't worked out yet, and some of that has been because of injury.
Yeah, exactly. He's either injured or he's average.
Okay, so with the 5th pick in the draft, the Jacksonville Jaguars will select Mason Graham, defensive lineman.
Which is a very good shout.
It just feels more sensible to do that than I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying about Jacksonville like to be flashy, and the Khans like a marketing piece, but I think at the end of the day, when you're brand new to this game, you want to get your line shored up. The Eagles have shown everybody, and Chiefs as well. If you get your offense and defensive lines shored up and working at a high level, everything else can kind of almost fall into place regardless. So I think the way the league's going, the sensible pick here is to go defensive line.
Finn, you now have the dubious honor of being the Raiders GM.
I was surrounded by pimps, rapists, and murderers. It was like being in the stands at a Los Angeles Raiders game.
This year, that honor goes to John Spytek, who is
I am, but I'm purely just a mouthpiece on this one. Punk will be feeding me the information needed to make the decision, which I think is already sort of somewhat decided.
Really?
But we'll go through the motions anyway.
We will, because there's a couple of interesting ways that we could go with this. So I think talking it through is a sensible thing to do anyway.
Because I think what's happened here is that a Raider fan has stopped Ashton Jeanty from being taken before his team gets a chance to take him.
Perish.
No collusion.
How very dare you?
Am I wrong?
Outrageous comment.
I know.
Just the arguments that have been made against Ashton Jeanty up to this point, have been better than the argument for Ashton Jeanty.
So, wow.
Who knows?
Okay.
Who knows? Anyway, there are other needs that the Raiders have.
Plenty.
Although they did exceedingly well in sorting out their quarterback position. Thank you very much, Finn.
You are more than welcome. So,
I told you before.
That's all sorted off my own back.
I told you before, trading with the Seahawks for quarterbacks never goes well for the team who are getting the quarterback.
No.
I'll tell you who does go well for, though. My boys.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
good.
Well, better than the receiving team.
Can we please move on to the Raiders?
Sorry, we're getting digressed. So big area need running back. We've obviously spoken about Ashton Jeanty, but it's not the only holes that we have in the organisation.
Strap yourselves in. There's going to be a few of them.
How long have we got for this?
I only put 4.
Yes, there are only 4. Two on offense, 2 on defense. The other offensive area of need is the wide receiver. Giving Gino someone to throw it would be absolutely marvelous and would do wonders. And then defensively, linebacker and corner would be splendid as well. But we've heard the arguments for Ashton Jeanty. So give me another player.
The real wild card here is that Shedeur is still on the board.
Well, I was going to say, there could be another phone call being made here.
Well, there could be a phone call, but the Raiders could also just shore up for the next few years and look to maybe trade out Gino before he's even played a season. So we'll see.
But be wise.
You're shorting Gino.
No, I'm just saying this is the sort of thing that I can see a Raider doing. Now, interestingly, obviously with Spytek coming from the Buccaneers, I think he's quite comfortable having his veteran quarterback, a la Baker Mayfield, running the show. But it is interesting to me that Sanders is still on the board, and I think it makes it a little more complicated if who you're about to suggest might make a phone call, Jim, whether or not the Raiders would listen.
I believe the New Orleans Saints, sat 3 spots down at ninth, would be on the phone now. Mickey Loomis would be phoning John Spytek and going, please, we took Derek Carr off you, please. We are having right now. Please, can we take number 6? And you know what they're taking. And you don't really need Shedeur Sanders right now anyway. So you're moving down 3 spots. You look like a genius anyway as a first-time GM because you're finessing the draft. Moving down 3 spots, you'll probably take an absolute haul off the Saints to do this. And you'll probably still get the person you wanted anyway 3 spots later. Maybe not Genty, but maybe still Genty. Who knows? Depending on what the other 2 teams are looking at. I don't think the other 2 teams before that really want a running back. So it may be that you can finesse it into that how it is. But like I said, you've got lots of holes. You're picking 6th for a reason. You've already made some great moves in bringing in experienced talent at the most important position. Look like an absolute genius at the draft and move down. That's what I would do. Take advantage of Mickey Loomis.
Dave?
If it's me, I wouldn't trade down. I'd just go Ashton Genty. Nice and simple. I can offer you
just
one
said about how
option.
he's just a flash piece when you're looking at shoring up lines. And I mean, the Raiders' lines
I've never referred to him as a flash piece. And I don't think the Raiders' line is that terrible. Colton Miller's good. The guy you've got at right tackle, I can't remember what his name is.
Played all right. DJ Glaze, he started.
And you drafted him in the 3rd round last year.
And you've got Jackson Powers Johnson at centre.
You traded in the first or second round last year
as well.
I don't know who your left guard is, so I'm not even going to pretend to know that. But the other guy you've got at the right guard, Parham, he's useless. Get a guard, but do that later. You don't do that in the first line. He's rubbish. But I don't think offensive line is the issue. The only other player I'd offer you is probably Will Johnson. He's the best cornerback in this draft. He's great. He's all technique. I'm an enormous fan of his. Really, really big fan. But what Jim said comes into play. You can trade down and still get Will Johnson if he's your guy.
That's what I'm looking at as well.
Don't pick Will Johnson here. If you're thinking, okay, he could be our guy, trade back and go for him later on. If you think, actually, I really want Ashton Genty, get him now. I'd say it's up to you. I can give you all the reasons. I could convince you either way. Ultimately, it's down to whether or not you want to risk losing a piece that you really like. Whoever gets Ashton Genty is going to be very, very happy. Whoever gets Will Johnson is going to be equally as happy.
Obviously, other than Genty watch, I've not spent a huge amount of time looking at him, this, that, and the other. But
great.
The way he's being talked about, he reminds me so much of Bo Jackson that I just would have to pull the trigger on it. But again, I'm not the GM. However, then for your continued health, I'd suggest you maybe want to look at the unicorn.
Okay. Based on that and the reading between the lines.
What lines?
Bad lines.
That middle finger that he's on.
Yes.
That's like someone walking up to you going, I'm going to kill you. And you're going, I wonder if they want to.
Yeah, I wonder what he's saying there.
I think you're making a mistake here, Pun, to be honest. I think there are better players like Will Johnson. Like Dave said, you could take lower down. Pick someone's pocket for Shedeur Sanders because there are desperate teams out there, and the Saints are the biggest one of them all.
You might be right, and in a different year, I might say yes, go for it. But the thing that really showed that offense up last season was the lack of running game. The absolute absence of any running game last year completely hamstrung us. So, as Dave said correctly, the O-line is not that bad, and there's enough rookie pieces in there from last year that they're going to be better this year anyway, in theory. Wide receiver losing Devonta Adams is quite a big hole, but Jacoby Meyers has stepped up. We've got enough pieces. Brock Bowers is almost a receiver in himself. Cornerback is the other one that's really, I would call, the big issue. But when you've got a kind of crown jewel piece in there that you can just slot in a position of need, and would, let's be honest, be a Davis marketing absolute wizard. I don't think there's any choice but for the Raiders to go Jeanty at this point if he's still on the board, which he will be.
And if we look at what was achieved last year in terms of rushing yards per game, Baltimore had 187. There's a bit of rounding going on. 187 yards per game. They were top. Vegas were rock bottom at 79. They were 12 yards behind the team who were second bottom, and that was the Jets. They didn't have a running back. So it was woeful. They had fewer rushing yards. They had 700 fewer rushing yards than Saquon Barkley did.
Well, you know there are a lot of running backs in this draft, Dave.
There are a huge amount.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, if it wasn't obvious, the Las Vegas Raiders going with Ashton Jeanty.
Arnold Membu. Oh, okay.
Punk, you're back up.
Which is a pick I absolutely hate, by the way. I really hope he doesn't go to Vegas.
Oh, yeah.
But that's issue with your Denver hat on.
The New York Football Jets.
The New York Football Jets.
What would you like us to produce for you?
Well, I definitely could do with a quarterback. I could do with a wide receiver. I could do with lots on the offensive line. And actually here, I wouldn't object to a tight end either. So I think the Jets have got lots of options open to them. Where do I want to go? That's the question. I might even go best player available. Who's best player available, chaps?
Well, we'll just say very quickly that you are now Darren Moogie, who is a first-time GM yet again, and he was the Broncos assistant GM, I believe, and Aaron Glenn as new head coach, defensive coordinator from the Lions. So best player available. Well, some might say it will be Shedeur Sanders. You're saying that there's a potential for you actually looking at Sanders. I would have said you'd probably be okay with Fields for this season. But you're absolutely right. You might want to bring in Shedeur. They haven't had too many overtures, have they, the two teams, though? He's either been looking at the Giants if he's been in New York, or the Saints, or other such teams. So I haven't heard him say anything for the Jets, whether he's had a workout or not, Dave. I don't know. I mean, you're a Coronado fan.
Not sure. So he hasn't had too many workouts. What they did instead was they didn't call it a pro day. They called it a showcase, talent showcase day, where they brought everyone in. A lot of teams went to it. A lot of teams didn't. New York went to him. So they had multiple catch-ups. New York Giants, by that I mean. If I'm the Jets, you don't have a tight end, so go and get the best tight end in the class. I literally have no idea who the tight end is there. I couldn't name him. So go and get Tyler Warren.
You've got tight end wise, Jets have Neil Johnson, Zach Kuntz, Jeremy Ruckert,
Jesus,
Tyler
Conklin.
There you go then.
That's it. They don't even have a Conklin anymore.
There you go. Go and get your tight end, because you don't have one.
And if we're talking about tight ends, then there really is. Well, maybe there's two, but
one.
As far as I'm concerned, there's only one option here, and that is Tyler Warren,
who is fantastic, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, he does a bit of everything. He's such a good receiving threat. Just plucks it out of the air. He's even been asked to launch over the line on some goal line plays. He's even thrown it a couple of times. He scored a touchdown as a passing touchdown. He looks very Gronk when I'm watching him. He's tough. He doesn't want to go down. He wears 44 because when he was a kid, he watched John Riggins, and his dad said, "Run like John Riggins" when you got the ball, and so he's taken that to heart. Tyler Warren is mocked a lot to the Jets because they are so weak at tight end, and he's such a kind of perfect fit. Provides an option there for Fields, whoever's throwing the ball to him. He just seems to just bring the ball down every time. And he can block. He likes blocking as well. He's not a Travis Kelce type. He just wants to run out and catch the ball. He actually does enjoy pushing defensive linemen around as well.
It would be malpractice not to pick him up here with the current tight ends you have on the roster.
I mean, it is the New York Jets, that anything is possible.
Yeah. In terms of what you mentioned about the quarterback, though, I buy into Justin Fields at the Jets. It feels like this could very well be last chance saloon for him as a starter. He didn't really get that much of a shot in Pittsburgh. I think
They're
Pittsburgh
bad
did
winning
him
record
dirty.
though. Went 4
He
and 2.
did, and I don't think he should have been replaced.
I
I
mean,
think that
neither.
was proven in the long run. I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
I think Pittsburgh did him dirty, and I think it's great that he moved out. It's a new start for him. Kind of wish the start wasn't with the Jets. But it's a big town, big market. Go and make your mark. I think they've got him on a 2-year deal that's player friendly and team friendly. And if you are going to buy into him, give him a tight end that's really going to help.
The only other option there is to protect him with Armand Membou at right tackle.
The right tackle they've got, I think they drafted last year or the year before.
They have been playing about with the line. Yeah, Morgan Moses is, I think, their current starting right tackle.
Not sure.
I think
Ollie
for me,
Fashanu they picked up in the draft last year at left tackle.
I don't even think Morgan Moses plays for the Jets. I might be wrong.
Not anymore. Don't know.
I think the tight end. My 2 cents. Punk is looking past a tight end would be criminal, considering the tight ends within the organisation.
Malpractice, criminal. We've had it all there.
I think the buzzwords are winning here, aren't they? So let's make it official then. With whatever number the Jets are now, I can't remember where are we.
They're 7.
7.
7.
The New York Jetty Jets that are in New Jersey will select tight end Tyler Warren.
Sold. Okay, so we move on now to the team that moved down in our draft. We had 1 trade so far, and that was the New England Patriots. They moved from 4 down to 8. So
the needs are still there, boys.
Yes, he's still there. Yes,
the needs are still there.
Well, I just mentioned him. How about Armand Membou then? What I think might be the best tackle in the draft. Definitely the best right tackle in the draft.
Yeah, well, you mentioned Morgan Moses a second ago. They just got him from the Jets, so they've only just brought him in, and he's the right tackle there.
Oh, have they? Oh, okay. Yeah. So we don't need right tackle, is what you're saying?
I'm just saying they've already brought someone in.
Yeah, but let's be honest. One of those right tackles could quite easily be a right guard.
Yeah.
Shifting.
Well, the right guard they've got is Mike Onwenu. I don't know much about him, if I'm going to be honest. Listen, I'm going to offer you what you've got in New England. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm going to give you a bit of time to think on what your strategy is going forward. What you've got is what you've had for the past 3 or 4 years, an absolute dearth of talent outside. So I think at running back, they're pretty good. I think at tight end, they've got a couple of tight ends who I really like. They've got Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper. Ramondre Stevenson, Antonio Gibson are at running back, so I think you're good there. I'm going to offer you a wide receiver, and I'm offer you Tet McMillan. My comp for him is Courtland Sutton, and that's the type of player that he is. And you know how much I like Courtland Sutton. They've got the speedster with Stephon Diggs. He's the outside one. They've got the inside speedster with Matt Collins, who came from Buffalo. And I think if you can give him a big, solid receiver, Tet McMillan's from Arizona, strong, powerful, catch radius as big as your arm. You're doing everything at that point to really shore up your chances for your quarterback. Because I think there is talent there for Drake May. And you've got Josh Dobbs behind him who's going to help with that. They brought him in from San Francisco, I think he was last out. I mean, he's played for every team in the league. So I would offer Tet McMillan, wide receiver, Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, Tet is awesome. He's 6'4", but just high points the ball every time. He loves running across the middle of the field as well. So posts, in routes, he's great at that. Not the quickest of wide receivers, but he just brings the ball in. So
yeah, he's Courtland Sutton. He's definitely.
Well, yeah, exactly. And we know that Drake May can't throw the ball very fast, so it was going to be perfect for him.
You're going to die on that island, aren't you?
I saw it with my own eyes, Dave.
Yeah, saw it. Never going to live it down.
Saw it happen. You know, there is. Sorry, Karen.
How big of a gap are we talking in McMillan to the next receiver and his ability?
If McMillan wasn't there, I wouldn't pitch you a receiver because I don't think you need a bit of a speedster. I don't think you need that type of receiver because you've got Stephon Diggs, you've got Matt Collins. You've still got Kendrick
done a
Bourne.
lot of work on the receiver room already this offseason.
You have. But you are trying to assist your quarterback.
We are.
You've also done a lot
but
of
protection is also assisting him.
Yeah, exactly. And I think
traded...
that was the big problem last year, as much as anything, was that he didn't have time to throw the ball.
It's true, but you've also, as well as doing work on the outside of wide receivers, you've also done work on the offensive line. You've brought in a new centre, Garrett Bradbury. You've brought in a new right tackle, Morgan Moses. You've already done that. You've already also brought in a guy from the Jets, Wes Schweitzer as well. So you've brought in 3 players on the offensive line. So there is the possibility that you're not going to touch on that. I mean, how many teams bring in 3 new players on the offensive line and go and draft another offensive lineman in the top 10? It tends not to happen.
Well, I don't think it stops you. It just means you're not drafting hungry, which has allowed you to move down from 4 to 8 and still feel comfortable about it because you're getting more picks.
I think the thing is as well is we can, like Punk said, we can, even though we brought in a right tackle, if we go and draft a right tackle, we can shift one to a guard and play around. But also, it's the depth we're going to get from having more guys in the defensive linesmen, and that is, if you lose lose anyone to injuries, you then running low, and you'll be kicking yourself that we didn't go and bring anyone else in to sort of shore things up. I think it's been a big position in need, and I can see the point for McMillan and a receiver, but I think we've got to give the boys that we've brought in some time, and we know the ability that Diggs has, but he's not going to get the ball if there's no protection. So I like the pick of the right tackle, whose name I've forgotten.
Ahmed Membu.
That's
Missouri. I mean, 9 pressures and 0 sacks last year. He's just an absolute beast.
I do want to mention Morgan Moses did sign a 3-year, $24 million deal with 11 million fully guaranteed. So it's not a small contract. And Morgan Moses, I've just Googled it, has never played at right guard. And Arnold Membu has never played at right guard. So what you're going to be doing is either signing a guy on a 3-year, $24 million deal and asking him to play in a position he's never played in, or you're going to draft a guy in the top 10 of a draft and ask him to play in a position he's never played in.
At the same time,
sensible to me.
At the same time, Morgan Moses get injured tomorrow, and then you're left with nothing. So there has to be a future plan there. And Membu, some people do talk about kicking everyone into guard at tackle position.
Yeah, but that's just laziness. Come on,
of course it's laziness, but they might do it. So and who better to learn off than Morgan Moses for a couple of years? So I can see that. I can definitely see. It's a very sensible pick, Ahmed Membu. I think it's a very sensible selection as well for Ted McMillan. He's not my favourite wide receiver, but I think he would be perfect for the Patriots and what they run. So I don't think you can really go wrong with either of those ones, Finn. Despite, I mean, Dave's quite passionate about the roster depth at the moment with tackle.
I'm
not going to stand in his way, but I agree with you about taking Membu. I think you would not be laughed out of the building if you took Ahmed Membu right now for the Patriots.
And if there's any
Patriots
fans out there wondering why we're not mentioning specifically on anything to do with defense, it's because they've invested even more heavily on defense with the players that they bought in the off season. So I don't think necessarily this first round is going to be a defense selection. I think it has to be something on the offensive side of the ball.
Unless they went for Will Johnson, which I could see them doing.
Well, they've just signed Carlton Davis.
Yeah.
So they've got Carlton Davis one side, and they've got Christian Gonzalez the other side.
Yeah, you need more than 2 corners.
Yeah, I mean, that's still pretty good within itself. So
you want coverage. You want more coverage.
Maybe
someone
you do.
Will Johnson.
Maybe you do, but then you still got Marcus Jones, who's a good corner as well. So you've already got your third guy.
They were picking for a reason.
Indeed.
Just like, you got a smorgasbord here, Finn.
I have. I'm going to stick with my gut,
and
I'm going to take Ahmed Membu.
I think that's the right pick.
Your guts have for brains, just saying.
Didn't say my guts are any good, but I'm going with them.
Mine are rotten, so what do I know?
Ahmed Membu. So that means that even though I wanted them to jump up and look silly, the Saints are sitting there at 9. Not giving
up any picks. What happens now is the Saints phone up Spytek and Brady and go, "Thank you for not taking our silly offer of loads of
idiots. You took a running back.
It's all fallen lovely for us." I don't think there's any argument here, is there?
Absolutely not. No.
I think it literally is a case of if this happens, the Saints are taking Shedeur Sanders without any question of a doubt.
The only thing I would say is they've still got Spanky. How much should they believe in Spanky Rattler?
Not very much.
Not much on
what they were
the
doing with him
evidence of last
year.
season.
Fed him to the wolves.
Well, only because everyone was injured. There's not a lot they could have done with that.
Yeah, but they didn't. Yeah, the plays they were running weren't helping either.
I would argue that you might still have some faith in Spanky Rattler, but he's still a project at the end of the day. It's not like you're shifting out a first round pick from last year. I think for me, having a day one starter come in, help to rebuild what the Saints could be, so much so that in fact Derek Carr may never play for us again.
Mm.
That to me is an attractive proposition if I'm GMing the Saints.
Used to wearing black and brushed metal.
I was going to say it's a colours thing, isn't it? I can see Shedeur Sanders playing for the Saints. The colours are identical.
Yeah. And he had over 4,100 passing yards last year, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, 74% completion percentage was an FBS high. He does get sacked more than the other quarterback, so he's going to be right at home at the Saints.
His offensive line's garbage.
It's going to be garbage at the Saints. So he's going to be used to that. I think that it's a bit of a no-brainer really at this point. They've put themselves in that position. They were obviously relying on Derek Carr in the first place, which isn't a great idea. But...
I mean, also it's worth mentioning the Saints might also be cursing Carolina because they need a right tackle now with Ryan Ramczyk announcing his retirement in the past couple of days, who I'm a massive fanboy of. So it's a shame to see him out of the league. But yeah, they should pick Shedeur Sanders. And the new head coach, whose name I'm forgetting, of the Saints, he's just come from Kellen Moore, just come from the Eagles. Also had a bit of time with the Chargers. I think he had one season with the Chargers and played with Dak before that. Every quarterback he's ever played with has a bit of an uplift when he's there, and I think it'd be he would want his own guy come in, and I think Shedeur's probably that guy.
So there we go with the 9th pick in the draft. It's 9, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
It is 9. Yeah.
Shedeur Sanders, quarterback to the New Orleans Saints.
It will get harder, we promise.
You've heard of these players.
Well, it's going to get a lot harder because the difference between the guy who many people have 11th on the board and the guy who people have 25th on the board probably isn't that much, to be honest. So you're going to get some random stuff thrown at you. So, yeah. So the fun bit's about to begin.
Pick number 10 is the Chicago Bears. You've got Ryan Poles as the GM still, but your new head coach in Ben Johnson, who came across from the Lions as defensive coordinator last season. So what would you like us to pitch your way?
2, I think either line is needed. Just shore up the trenches and actually start winning battles there. And also throw in a linebacker as well. But I think trench work would be my ideal sort of first port of call.
Yeah, trench work or pass rusher, I'd say.
So I'm happy to go first here.
Yeah,
I think in free agency you've already bought in 4 linemen. So you bought in Joshua Miles from San Francisco, you bought in Jonah Jackson, you bought in Drew Dalmont from Atlanta, and Joe Tooney from Kansas. Braxton Jones is the left tackle, who I think they're bought into, and Darnell Wright's at right tackle as well. So I don't think they're going to go offensive line. Now, we know that the Bears love a splash for a sexy player, but I'm not going to offer you that either. I don't think defensive end is necessarily a need because they bought in a guy from Indiana whose name I can't remember, and Montez Sweat is the other side, and he's fantastic. And I don't necessarily think there's an offensive tackle here that is a guy that you're going to hang your hat on too much. So I'm going to offer you the best cornerback in the draft, Will Johnson, because let's be honest, the cornerbacks that the Bears have got are a load of rubbish. They haven't got anyone half decent. They got Jaden Johnson, who I think came from the Patriots, and some of that was down to what he did off the field more than on it. And I think they've also got Terrell Smith and Tariq Stevenson.
And Terrell Smith, yeah.
So what I'd say
Infamous
is,
Tyreek Stevenson.
yeah, here's a blue chip player who's going to come in, slot in, be the best guy in your secondary immediately. And let's be honest, in a division where you've got Jordan Love, and say what you want about Jordan Love, and I'm not his biggest fan either, but the boy loves to sling it. So if you've got someone in his secondary who can help share it up, absolutely fantastic. Who knows what we're going to see with the Vikings this year, but they've got Justin Jefferson, and the Lions are the Lions. So get someone in the secondary is really going to help you out.
I would just let you know, Jalen Johnson was the round 2 pick for the Bears back in 2020, so he's never been anywhere but the Bears.
Is he not? Okay,
No.
I was thinking it's the guy from the Patriots.
Unfortunately, Dave's absolutely right in that Will Johnson will be the natural person to take here. They are atrocious in the secondary. I would suggest someone else then, because we want to be fair.
No, absolutely. Here. Do that.
There is a safety that is widely picked to be a first-round talent, and that is Malachi Starks from Georgia. Love a Georgia defensive player. PFF have him in the top 10 of their draft board, but he is a very, very good safety. So I think if you want someone that's actually going to be able to cover both sides of the field, then Malachi Starks is that kind of guy to come and take the ball away. So I'm suggesting him instead of Will Johnson, who's going to cover half the field. Malachi Starks can get both sides done.
Can I just give my thoughts on Malachi Starks? And
no, you can't. No, you can't.
Where this is going. He's my least.
About Malachi Starks.
He is my least favorite player in the first round. First round projected player. He's my least favorite.
What's wrong with him?
It's the eye test.
It's a vibe.
I have a question. Yeah. Throwing all needs out of the window. Who's the best player available currently?
Depends on position. You're probably looking at Jalen Walker or Ted McMillan or Will Johnson. But they're all very, very, very
Malachi
different.
Starks.
No. I'd rather have Cramp than Malachi
Jim's
Starks.
died on this here.
I'm not picking it for the Broncos.
I don't hate the argument for a cornerback.
Nor do I.
I can see that being of benefit. Cornerbacks you always need loads of anyway, so regardless.
Just on the safety point of it, the guy who's going to be covering both ends of the field is going to be your free safety. Your strong safety is going to be the guy stepping up and really helping stop the run. So stuff the run. It's going to be your free safety. And they've already got Kevin Byard. They've brought in another free safety whose name I can't remember as well. And Kevin Byard's good, man. So I don't necessarily think that safety is a concern. But Jim, this goes back to what you mentioned previously on one injury and it's decimated. I think that's the case for the Bears. They need to pick up a safety. Probably not just now. They've also got the lad who goes out with a gymnast. This is tenuous, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
I can't remember what his name is, but he's a safety, I believe, as well. Can't remember what his name is though.
Jonathan Owens.
That's the lad.
Yeah.
Simone Biles is other half.
That's right. Yeah.
That's the one.
If he could jump like Simone Biles, what a safety he'd be, by the way. But I don't know if he's a free safety or strong safety. I'm sorry, failing you there. But they'll need to pick up another safety later on. Just don't do it now. And for God's sake, don't pick up Malachi Starks.
Malachi Starks can play either safety spot, to be honest. He's very versatile.
Go and pick up Malachi Starks when he's still there in the fifth round.
No. You don't have that many choices. The cornerback class is deep. The safety class is wafer thin. So you miss out on a bit like Jen earlier. If you miss out on him now, you're not getting him later on. There's not even an 80% Malachi Starks in the second round.
But Will Johnson's one of the best of the rest left.
Let's say that Will Johnson has probably already gone in most mock drafts by now, and Malachi Starks is being taken around now in most mock drafts. So
again, what do people know?
He's fallen. He's fallen
just
a little bit.
Take Will Johnson. You've wasted everyone's time. Get on with it.
Look at him bullying his
Come on, Finn. Be bold.
No, you know what? Closing out the top 10, we'll go to Will Johnson.
Good lad.
It's not everyone's cup of tea. I completely understand it. I can't. Will Johnson should have gone by now. The 49ers. Punk.
49ers.
Don't give him anything.
I need loads.
Just trade out for nothing.
Yeah.
Definitely could do with some offensive line, some defensive tackles, probably a defensive end. I definitely need a wide receiver as well. So I'm kind of open to any of that at the minute, chaps.
Okay.
Jim, do you want to go first? I'm happy
Yeah,
to.
I'm fine. Yeah, I mean, if you look at the overall board, there is one player there that is kind of standing out from the others, and that's Jahdae Barron at corner, which is another position that the 49ers desperately need. So he's a little bit undersized from Texas, but it's your team, Punk, Texas, and he is just an absolute ball hawk. He is so good at bringing the ball down. It doesn't matter about his size. He plays so well, and he just fit in, I think, with the 49ers way of style of play. It's difficult to say about watching him, but he just seems to make up on anything. He seems to know what's going on. He plucks balls out of the air. Yeah, he's just really, really good corner, and I think that's kind of how the 49ers build is from the back forwards. I think he's the best remaining cornerback in this draft.
I agree. I want him to go to Denver. There is an outside chance before you say that he could slip that far. Just saying. I want to offer you a guy who also plays for Texas, which, as you're a Texas fan, Punk, I'm sure you'll know very well. Kelvin Banks. Now, the reason I suggest Kelvin Banks is because he can and has played both left tackle and right tackle, and I want him to learn from Trent Williams. If I'm honest, I want everyone to learn from Trent Williams. The right tackle, I can't remember who it is who you've got at the moment, but he's pants. I know that much. Bring him in, play him a right tackle. When Trent Williams retires, which is probably only a year, maybe 2 removed, kick him over to left. You got your left tackle starting. I do agree that they need a wide receiver. Go and get that later on. Pick Kelvin Banks. It's the sensible option.
The absolute sensible option is Jahdae Barron, who a lot of people have as the number 1 overall cornerback in the draft.
Listen, man, if whichever one of these two you pick, you're not going to go wrong.
You're not going to go wrong. You're not going to go wrong.
Absolutely not. The only thing I would say is the guy at right tackle you've got, I've just Googled it, is Colton McKivitz. Yeah, and the guy you've got starting at cornerback at the moment are Renardo Green and Trey Brown. So both are in need. So it depends what you want. There are no wrong answers here.
Finn?
I would go with the least sensible pick.
The least sensible pick.
Standard.
Yeah.
So the least sensible pick is a punter. So
listen, they've got form for that.
That means with the 11th pick of the draft, the San Francisco 49ers select Kelvin Banks.
Excellent choice.
Wow. Kelvin Banks.
At the end of the day, exactly what you said, Dave. If you have a chance to learn from Trent Williams and get someone in a room with him, then that's exactly what you do.
And pretty soon they're going to be paying Brock Purdy, if they haven't already. I haven't checked my phone today. Pretty soon they're going to be paying him, and you're going to need to protect him because, I mean, he's crap enough without being hit, let alone when he's got someone else in his face.
Wow. Okay, let's move on then to the Dallas Cowboys.
Hey, Dallas! The last time you were in the Super Bowl, these draft picks weren't born!
Picking at 12, and that means Finn, you are Jerry Jones. You now got Brian Schottenheimer.
Right, if you got your Madden game open, shut your eyes.
Yeah, I will take anything. We've got so many holes. The line could do with work. Corner. I know a couple of going, but running back as well wouldn't go amiss. Wide receiver. Coffee lady.
Coffee lady, yeah.
A new stadium would be nice as well if that's going.
Just some curtains.
Yeah. Just curtains, yeah. Well, curtains will do actually. Probably a little bit cheaper.
Can I go then? If I can go first, Dave, I'm going to go with the person that I think is most likely to go to the Cowboys at this point, and it is a wide receiver, but it's not going to be Ted McMillan. I think it's going to be Matthew Golden, who is my favorite wide receiver. He's from Texas, so that makes a lot of sense there for Dallas. Jerry would have seen him quite a few times. This is kind of the prototypical wide receiver 1 in my book. I mean, to put him up as CeeDee Lamb would just be ridiculous. Yeah, I love Matthew Golden. He's a true threat on the outside. More so than Ted. He's faster than Ted McMillan, which is why I'm suggesting him over Ted McMillan right now.
What's interesting, I'm a big fan of Matthew Golden. A lot of people have him dropping out of the first round. I don't get it.
Ridiculous.
I don't get it, but it is what it is. I agree with that pick enormously. but I wouldn't draft on offense, mainly because they have a blue chip receiver already. I think their depth at receiver is okay.
Look how
I
much
think Jonathan.
CD's complaining about the whole situation.
Yeah, but then he'll be complaining even more when he gets the first rounder and he's not getting fed the ball anymore. That's what receivers are like. What I'd do if I was offer you is offer you Jalen Walker from Georgia. Now, Jalen Walker's an edge rusher who can also stuff the run. Pretty good run stuffer, in all honesty. You'd be playing opposite Micah Parsons, and you're replacing Dante Fowler, basically, who's I can't believe he's still in the league. And what you're going to be doing is putting immense pressure on the teams that you're coming up against, because let's be honest, their division, I've got some excellent quarterbacks as well as what the Giants have got. So I think they need to create pressure. And there is the possibility soon that Micah Parsons might not be hanging around too long. But you're essentially left with: do you want a receiver? Do you want an edge rusher? So they're really your two options. Both I think probably as good as each other.
Mm-hmm.
My only thing about Jalen Walker is that he's playing a lot at inside linebacker, so he hasn't got a lot of experience on the edge. You're drafting a lot of potential there rather than.
Which is exactly the same as Micah Parsons. When he was at Penn, he was playing in middle linebacker as well.
Yeah, but I think that there weren't some
Jerry's all you got to think.
How much of a run stuffer is he?
Great. Excellent. No, he genuinely
played. Well, no, one of the big knocks on the Cowboys
middle linebacker, for God's sake.
Defensive line was completely undersized and was just getting run over left, right, and centre.
It's the Georgia defense, mate. I mean, it's a unit.
If you've got a run stuffing, let's call it middle linebacker for argument's sake, then that's going to help in a position of need.
He's an edge rusher and will want to play on the edge, but the second he sees
the Cowboys are a weird one to me because they just have so many holes and so many average players that you kind of could go, yeah, they're all right. They wouldn't need really much there. Like their wide receiver room, they've got probably 6 or 7 reasonable wide receivers. So you're probably going, you might not want one. But actually, when you watch them play, it's a completely different story, and half of them don't know what they're doing, and this, that, and the other. So I think it's a tricky one. I think the picks you've made, chaps, have been. I think the pitches have been good. I think they are both positions of need. If I'm you, Finn, I'm probably looking at the defender more than the receiver, but the choice is yours.
My last Hail Mary on that is that Jalen Walker is not my favourite edge rusher on the Georgia team. I think that Micah Williams is a better edge rusher than Jalen Walker. Maybe that's because I'm just
Jalen Walker's a better defender.
Jim, if you were to pick
who's the more overall
or a defensive lineman, who would it be?
Jalen Walker's going to give you the ability to play in the middle and outside with a specialism of playing outside, but he's a run stopper. I knew it's similar to what you're getting with Travis Hunter. You're getting kind of 2 players in one, although both of those 2 positions are kind of next to each other rather than opposite sides of the ball.
I think Michael Williams is the best run stopping defender, and you've got the Eagles in that division. I just think he's a better.
I think Jalen Walker's a better run stopper.
No, he's not. I think he's possibly the best run stopper in the class is Michael Williams.
Not sure.
Great delay blitzing up the middle to get to the quarterback as well. That's why I didn't offer Jalen Walker. He's too much of a kind of a project in my eyes, and I'd go with someone that the fans would love straight away.
Sounds like he can offer us. Sounds like he can offer us a little bit more on defense if he can do a bit of both.
Well, Jalen Walker will play middle linebacker if you want him to. I wouldn't. I'd still stick him on the edge, and he's playing opposite Micah Parsons, so he's going to be one-on-one a lot of the time as well. You'll get success there,
I think.
But Matthew Golden, solid receiver, by the way. Let me not undersell.
My favourite wide receiver in this draft. Again,
I see the point in the receiver pitch, but like Punk said, there's receivers in the building that on paper should work and should provide more of an output than they actually do. And so I am leaning towards the defensive player of Jalen Walker. I think to me, it seems he can offer a bit more, and the defense really struggled. I think the offense is easier to get clicking with
it's
a
easier
minor
to
tweak.
tinker with the offense than it is the defense in Dallas, I think.
Yeah, I think there's enough pieces there to just fill it back with a few things. So I'm going to take, what pick are we? The 12th, with the 12th pick, Jalen Walker.
Excellent pick. I feel like it's a clean sweep for me.
I think there have been a lot of your picks, actually.
They have, which I don't know if that fills me with confidence or not.
No, I know.
It shouldn't do. It shouldn't do.
Dave normally does better in the later picks.
It's going to be a whitewash.
But to be fair, the first four are normally consensus picks, aren't they? So
I think they were this time.
Normally, yeah.
On to the Dolphins then. At pick 13, Punk, that's you, with old Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel, probably fighting for their professional lives right now.
yeah, this is do or die time for us, really, isn't it? So I've really got to get that defense working. I've still got enough pieces on offense that kind of similarly to the Cowboys in a way that I can make things work if my quarterback will just stay healthy. Defensively, I'm a little bit all over the place at the minute, so I could definitely do with a cornerback, a safety. Failing that, I'll probably go for an offensive lineman, but realistically, I think I'm going for a defensive back.
Jahdae Barron. That I don't offer you anything else. I think you need an offensive lineman because you need to protect Tua, because please protect Tua, please.
Mm-hmm.
Get that later on. Get Jahdae Barron. He's the best cornerback that's on the board at the moment.
Oh, I'm going to be agreeing with him again.
Sorry.
Just because he has slipped. Jahdae Barron is usually a top 10 pick in the mock drafts, at least. He should have gone to the 49ers, but he didn't listen to me. So at 13, I think it's again a good position to take him. The Dolphins, as you quite rightly said there, Punk, have a lot of holes. So you want
we bust out the criminal
possible
element as well. Can we do that again? Is that valid? And let's not also forget Jalen Ramsey wants out.
Yeah,
exactly. He's requested a trade, so they're going to be even skinnier.
Yeah.
Their current, this is brilliant, by the way. Their current left cornerback is Storm Duck. That's actually his name.
We know about Storm Duck.
I don't.
Mighty Duck.
So there you go. Get in Jahdae Barron and you're laughing.
So no arguments then. So again, pretty much consensus pick with, where are we, 13?
13,
the draft. The Miami Dolphins select Jahdae Barron, cornerback.
It's good. It's good. Finn, 14, we have the Colts.
Here we go. The Colts. Tight end would be really, really helpful.
You read my mind.
Anything on the line offensively or a linebacker, but I can't see past the tight end being where we go.
Okay, well, let me go first then.
Pick.
Yeah.
I'll pick Dave's one anyway, so it's all right.
Oh.
Good lad.
All right. Okay. Well, look, there's really only one name popping up now that we've removed Tyler Warren from the board, and that's Colston Loveland from Michigan. He's fairly awesome as a receiving tight end. He's not quite as physical, I don't believe, as Tyler Warren. But if you want a safety blanket receiver out there, then you couldn't go much further wrong than not taking Colston Loveland.
Yeah, whichever one of your two quarterbacks win out, they've both got deficiencies in decision making. So having a get out of jail free card, which Loveland is. I'm not sure about him in certain circumstances. I think he's a bit of my comp for him is Mike Gesicki. I think he's not as one-sided as Mike Gesicki. I think he can block better than Mike Gesicki, but that's as close as I can get. If when he comes to the end of his rookie contract, he wants to be tagged as a wide receiver rather than a tight end, I think he could probably make a claim for that, because he's not your prototypical blocking tight end. He is extremely good, and he's got a national title under his belt, and he's learned under Jim Harbaugh, so it kind of tells you where he is. I think he's probably developed as much on the defensive side of the game as he can in terms of blocking, so I think you kind of already know what you're getting.
I think it's quite an easy one then, isn't it?
It feels fairly unanimous.
So,
feels like a straightforward pick. So we will take Colston Loveland, please, at tight end.
and it means that the Chargers aren't getting him, which is excellent.
I had him going to the Chargers, so
I think everyone has.
That's unfortunate.
It's a
Okay,
bit
so
of a
we're on
reach then,
to
because the Chargers don't pick for another what, 8,
well,
9.
no, you asked for a tight end, so
I know, but I'm just saying it's an interesting one if you're saying most mocks are taking him to the Chargers.
But it's also what we mentioned previously about the difference between, difference between picks at the moment. I mean, they have Matthew Golden dropping out the first round, which is insanity. But yeah, the difference between picks this year has been fairly broad.
There's not many tight ends that are round 1 legit. So those 2 are basically gone. I wouldn't be suggesting anyone else in this draft class to be a round 1 talent.
Maybe 31, 32, maybe if they really love.
I wouldn't.
But there's a second round tight end who can be very, very good.
Right, onwards. Where are
15.
we?
It's the Falcons.
15. Oh, my Atlanta Falcons. How on earth do we fix this pass rush? Pass rush. I'd like some pass rush. If I can't have pass rush, then I'd like a cornerback or an offensive lineman. But I really, really, really want a pass rusher.
Jim and I are going to agree here, so I think we can move on pretty sharpish. Get Michael Williams.
He's who I would suggest, but I think they're more likely to take Mike Green as a man that you absolutely adore, Dave.
I love Mike Green. I hope he doesn't go to Atlanta because he'll go.
Oh, you see what we've done there? I've just pulled back the curtain a little bit and just shown you. He's hiding certain plays. See what he's doing?
No. I don't think the thing is for you two guys, Mike Green plays for Marshall.
Yeah.
Now Jim has done nothing but slag me off all year for the used car salesmen and realtors that Ashton Genty's been playing against. The guys who Mike Green have been playing against are even below that. So
yeah,
I don't.
That's not the point, is it?
No. But I don't think with Michael Williams still on the board and Shamar Stewart still on the board, I don't think a team picks up Mike Green. I would. I love Mike Green. Mike Green's fantastic.
17 sacks last season.
Yeah. Last year he became a man. And the thing is as well,
against boys,
but all of those boys were focused on doing nothing but stopping him, and they still couldn't.
Yeah, but they were rubbish. That's why.
Compared to him, they were.
Look, I mean, he'll hit something. It was if you go back and listen to the draft prospects episode, he just wants to hit something in the backfield, no matter what it is.
Jim hates
proper American when it comes to shooting. Ready, fire, aim is Mike Green basically.
How dare you? You're only saying that because he's going to be in your division next year.
No, he might be, might not.
He will be. I think go Michael Williams, Georgia. As Jim mentioned, Jim thinks he's the best run-stopping defender. I think he is extremely good. My only knock is the fact that he's played on that Georgia defense and there's nothing but bulls, so he's never been double-teamed in his life. But he's very, very good.
It was quite sensible. So with the 15th pick in the draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Michael Williams.
Good shout.
Let's do it. 16 in the Cardinals. So Finn.
Oh, I'm not liking how this is falling to me. Should have really studied who was odd and who was even.
You should have checked the odds and evens, shouldn't you?
All I did was look at Seahawks and they were even, so I went, yeah, that's fine, but I should have really taken the blinkers off. Anyway, I was going to say the wonderful Cards. I don't mean that at all. The bang average Cardinals, what do we need to improve? Something on either line. Shore up the trenches, give some protection, or an edge as well to get at teams.
On the defensive side of the ball this offseason, they brought in Dalvin Tomlinson and Calais Campbell. Yes, Calais Campbell is still in the league, believe it or not. So, and they've not long brought in Baron Browning, who they've renewed at edge, outside linebacker, whatever you want to call him, pass rusher.
He's a middle guy.
No, he's not. He plays a pass rusher. He played nothing but at Denver. He played pass rusher. He did not play middle linebacker for even a snap. He did in college, but not in Denver.
Yeah.
So he's an outside linebacker, and so I think if you're looking line, you're looking offensive line. but I know they've drafted and traded there recently, so I'm going to be a little bit controversial and offer you Ted McMillan. Only reason being, in terms of wide receiver, we know obviously they bought in last season Marvin Harrison, but Marvin Harrison had numerous people draped all over him and wasn't able to get a lot of space. So offer Ted McMillan the other side, completely different to Marvin Harrison, completely different. And I think the line is kind of okay where it is. They bought Jonah Wilson in from not Cleveland, Cincinnati, the other one. So they bought him in last year. They've got Paris Campbell, whatever his name, I can't never remember. They've got him at left tackle, who they really, really love. So the only other option that they have at the moment, I think, is Zay Jones. I think
they've got Marvin Harrison. They've got Michael Wilson, Zach Pascal.
Well, there you go.
Chris
so
Moore
yeah, go and pick up Ted McMillan. Ted McMillan's fantastic. He's the one I mentioned before. The comp for him is Cortland Sutton. He's very different, and he'll free up room. They've also got Trey McBride as the tight end, so having that triple threat, and still got James Conner, who's really good in terms of opening up defenses in the way that he runs. I really like that as an offense. And you've also then got the rush of Kyler Murray as well. So I think it makes that division a little bit more interesting to watch.
I want to suggest you an upgrade on the defensive line then, and that's Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. This boy is huge and just hates quarterbacks. I think that he would be an absolute upgrade on that defensive line. I know that they've still got like the fossil of Calais Campbell, but you want new blood coming in there. Jonathan Gannon, the head coach, is a defensive-minded head coach, so he's always looking there first. And I think that they went big with the wide receiver last year. This year, go back to what they know, or he knows at least, and that's getting some pressure on the quarterback. Shamar Stewart is the best player available, I believe, to do that and to learn off those older guys they've got there already. So, based on what you said to me, Finn, about what they need, I think this is actually someone that really will come in and help that front seven.
Shamar Stewart, I'm not a fan of. The stats don't bear out on him. He hasn't got a sack in any of the last 7 games of any season, which for me says he basically no sacks in any of the last 7 games of any of his seasons consistently. Next Gen have pulled out some stats of his and basically say his production score is way lower than his athleticism score. Take from that what you will. The numbers don't bear out. I don't get the eye test. I'm not a fan of his. I don't understand why he's a first-round draft pick.
Apart from that, he does pass my eye test. I love the way that he just explodes off the edge, shuts down run games. They just don't get away from him.
They don't get near him either.
They don't get past him.
What do you reckon, Punk? Where's your? I've got a slight bias tinge, you see.
I can appreciate what Dave is saying, but we didn't ask for a wide receiver. So
yeah.
Doesn't mean you don't need one though.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I don't think it's in the top 3 or 4 of the list of things that we do need.
If you want a pass rusher, go Mike Green then.
If he played for Marshall, I want a player that played for a decent team. Look at Shamar Stewart. Just watch his tape and look how he just closes people down. I prefer that.
So I think the question then is where. So Dave, you're saying Shamar Stewart is a 2nd round pick or a 3rd round pick or something. He's not a 1st round pick.
Not for me.
What's his averaging out generally with mock drafts? Is he getting picked 1st round, or are we reaching like?
No, most people are taking him in the 3rd round and are taking him.
That's not true.
No, that's what I just said. Most people are taking him in the 1st round.
Oh, he said 3rd round.
I thought you said
no,
first.
I said 1st. Most people are taking him in the 1st round. Most people are taking him around about mid to late teens. But most of them are commentating saying he's a player we're a bit concerned about, a player we're a bit confused about, which I think is perfectly valid. It's just that a lot of people don't want to draft and have that controversy of him dropping out of the 1st.
I think if he's spelling a vet thin like Calais Campbell and in a room with someone like Calais Campbell and his work ethic, then I don't think that's going to be an issue. I think if he's athletic enough, explosive enough, and makes the plays, I don't see a problem with him.
Yeah, I think with the defensive mindset of Gannon as well, it feels like a better fit.
Yeah.
I see the benefit in McMillan, but with us going out and getting Harrison Jr. last year, I think that wide receiver ship for now has sailed. So I'd like to take Shamar Stewart, please.
This is what happens when a Seahawks fan drafts for Cardinals.
Well, no, to be fair, I would have made that.
It's what we asked for, Dave.
I'm throwing you under the bus. If that's important to you,
I knew you are.
And me not going rogue, then I'll prevent myself from doing that going forward and only give you what you've asked for.
I wasn't that necessarily. It was just.
I occasionally like you going rogue because occasionally you'll come up with something that we hadn't thought about. But in this situation, in this instance, I think the defense needs more work for the Cardinals than the offense does. And if there's a pass rusher there that can, spell 437-year-old Calais Campbell, then that's only a good thing.
They have also picked up Josh Sweat, by the way, who's from Philadelphia, who's going to help on that defensive line as well.
Yeah. We're on to pick 17. So that is the Cincinnati Bengals. Punk, you're Duke Tobin.
We can't pick in the first round because we can't afford to sign anybody because we've given all our money away. However, on the off chance that we do find a couple of quid down the back of the sofa, I'd very, very, very much like to improve my offensive line so that my very, very, very expensive quarterback doesn't end up getting injured.
So you've recently gone and got Orlando Brown from Kansas City, I think last season, and last year you traded and picked up Amarius Mims. So
and last year Amarius Mims was absolutely dreadful. So if we end up benching him, it's not the end of the world, is it? Okay, so to give you a couple of other options then, so you can think about it. If we're not going to go O-line, I'd like D-line, defensive end, or linebacker.
I'm going to give you defensive end because,
or I could go cornerback.
Sam
I
Hubbard
could be tempted by a cornerback.
Sam Hubbard's retired. Justice for Trey Hendrickson, release him, and go and pick up Mike Green.
That's Mike Green.
Yeah, ooh. Mike Green's the guy. He's been drafted by a lot of people to the Bengals. The Bengals have visited him. They've had him in for meetings. I think he's a Bengals player in waiting.
He's certainly an edge rusher for Marshall.
Give it a
what
rest.
I would.
You're going to be You're going to be pitching someone soon from North Dakota State, so don't give me that nonsense.
He's certainly the best edge rusher for Marshall. I won't argue that.
Indeed.
I'm going to listen to what Punk said right at the start, and I want to protect my my frosted tipped Lothario in the.
I was going somewhere very different now.
Exactly. I'm going to offer
saying about his tits.
Tips. I'll offer you possibly the best tackle in the draft, and that is Josh Simmons from Ohio State. He is everything you want from a left tackle, an absolute shutdown in the pass protection. It's someone that Joe Burrow probably stays up at the night sleep thinking about. He was just an absolute shutdown for Ohio State for all the games that he played in the last season, which was 6 before he went down with a patella tendon injury, which knocked him out for the rest of the season. He is going to be fit, they think, to start this season. And
they think
many people had him just when he was playing, he was mustard. So what you're doing there is you're just saying there's an unfortunate injury that knocked out most of his senior season, but what he was putting up there in performance was A1. He would have probably been, ahead of Will Campbell and Armand Membu. He would have been the first tackle taken if he hadn't had that injury at the start. 6 games in.
I had a patella injury. I don't think I've mentioned that much on this podcast. And I used to be good before that. Now I'm a shadow of a human being.
Exactly.
No, I think he's good, but the word you used is think he'll be ready. Let's be honest.
Well, they're expecting
it's a draft day. We think they'll all be good.
Yeah.
No, I said ready, not
healthy,
good.
Healthy.
The Bengals don't have a pass rush right now. Trey Hendrickson is not going to be there. He wants out. He said numerous occasions he wants out. I think you have
so
to.
Did Myles Garrett though, and look what happened there.
Yeah, but they can't throw him that much money, can they? Because they've already signed 2 wide receivers and a quarterback. Yeah, I think you're left with 2 options. You're left with a guy who's coming off a big injury, Josh Simmons for Ohio State, or you're picking up a guy who's got massive amounts of his ceiling is absolutely enormous in Mike Green. And all you want is a guy who's going to go and hit.
Ben, thoughts?
It's a tough one, but I think I like the look of Simmons. And from what has been said, I think it just feels we need someone to really get out and give Burrows as much time as possible. It just, yeah, I can't really put my finger on why. I just feel Simmons would be a nicer pick.
A lot of people have Simmons going in the second round, you know.
Blue chip
know that we're going to be winning games 42-38. We're not playing 21-18s and 10-9s. Our defense is not going to be our strong point this year.
No.
Yes, not we do. We build it. We do need to put something into it, but I don't think we can put as much money into our offense as we have without at least protecting our quarterback better than we did last year. So, with the 17th pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select Josh Simmons
to play left tackle when you've already
play left tackle, possibly dependent on his knee.
Interesting.
He'll be the best left tackle in the room.
And if he can't play left tackle, he'll play left guard.
I don't think he will.
Simple.
Okay. On to the Seattle Seahawks, and look at this, Finn.
There you go, Finn. That's why you want evens, mate.
Who did we have for Arizona? Who did we have for Arizona again? Sorry, was it Shamar Stewart?
Yeah,
Arizona is Shamar Stewart. Yeah,
it's doing 2 in a row now. I feel like my cockiness has come back to bite me in the bum. Come on, Seattle.
Right, Seattle, massive area is that offensive line. I could be tempted by wide receiver, but I think we've done a little bit of work in the off season to tick us over. They're not going to be flagship players. We're not going to keep them forever, but they'll keep us ticking over. So I'm not awfully concerned at wide receiver unless they were absolutely out of this world. But that O-line needs a serious amount of work.
We haven't picked a bloody wide receiver yet.
No.
Crazy. Dave, as the person that's not
I want you to go first because I'm going a bit rogue.
Well, I'm going to listen to my GM and I'm going to look at the offensive tackle. And my favorite here is Ariante Ursary from Minnesota. Just what you want, basically. You ask for someone who's going to shut down what's going on the offensive line. Finally, we get someone who can do it for you. Yeah, I mean, this guy just swats away speed rushers. He stands up to power rushers, creates holes in the run game. And I think what makes him a Seahawk is he just loves to make defenders eat grass. He doesn't stop until the defender's on the ground, basically. I really like Ursary, an absolute unit at left tackle. And there are precious few of them in this draft that you can say they come in and they can start straight away and not going to kick him inside to guard. This guy is better than what you've got.
Not hard.
Absolutely no, but he will be a massive upgrade on that line.
Okay. What's the curveball, Dave?
So, unlike Jim, I am not going to listen to my GM. And not only that, I'm going to completely ignore you and go off kilter massively.
Cool.
So the player I'm going to give you divides opinion more than any other in the draft, I think. Some people have him going 7 overall. Some people have him going in round 3. I'm going to offer you the Mississippi quarterback, Jackson Dart.
Come on, let's get
now. The reason I offer you this isn't to be contrarian, isn't to be funny. The main reason I'm offering is because you have a need at quarterback. I know you've just signed a quarterback on a team-friendly deal. I know. But
Sam Howell.
But Sam Darnold is used to having a rookie come in and be basically sat behind him and go, this is a guy that we're going to go for. You're on a prove-it deal. It's exactly what's happened to him at numerous different teams since probably the Panthers, to be honest. So I don't think that's an issue. I think Jackson Dart has huge upsides. I think there's limitations there as well. He was an SEC quarterback in his last year. I think he averaged nearly 70% completion, well over 4,000 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. His game has improved massively, although there are still, as you will say, limitations. I think he is a guy who represents value, being picked up on some drafts where we are, but also some people will also tell you he shouldn't be a first round quarterback, which may or may not have a point. He will, I think, some QB needy team will get him in the first 40 picks, I would say. So if you don't pick him now, he won't be there in the second round. Is quarterback a need? Maybe.
I'd say it's a very loose need.
Maybe, but at the same time, we have seen that Sam Darnold has had one good season. Do you really want to hang your hat on that without having any real backup plan? And I'm not going to say Drew Luck is a backup plan because we know he's not.
Yeah, Jackson Dart is a very intriguing prospect, but I think that he has got some massive problems. Listen to Dave on the prospect pod that we did for quarterbacks to find out just how many issues he's got, which is always kind of funny that he's pitched him now. But having said that, I mean, I do like Jackson Dart. He is my favorite other quarterback because he will sling it down the field. He plays baseball as well as football, so he's got a good arm. But his feet are terrible. And I think that, as you mentioned at the start, you're looking for someone to actually solidify a line that you start from the trench, and then you can think about putting a quarterback in there as a prospect, and he would be. He's not starting day one. He's not starting year one. So a first round pick, I don't see it. I mean, if he falls to round 2 or 3, which he might do, some drafts have loads of quarterbacks going in round 1. Other ones are going, that's not they're looking at actual talent, and they're saying this talent isn't good enough to justify a round 1 pick. Some people won't have him in the round 2 either. So I think if he falls to you in a later round, then great. Take a punt. But a round 1, when you can take Ariante Ursary and really upgrade your left tackle position, which is one of the most important positions in sport, give Sam Darnold a chance, or whoever you're going to put it under center there. I think he's made it easy for me.
Do you know what else is? It's not a competition, Jim. Relax.
I didn't think it was. I was hyped up halfway through.
Do you know, you mentioned about left tackle being important. Do you know what else is important? Quarterback. And you've got a guy
who has
taken the flyer on
this
one.
He has consistently got better throughout his career. So why not have him come in and start? And listen, Punk might not agree with what I'm saying here, but he's the president of the club that says every quarterback should sit for a year. So, and having Jackson Dart in and being the guy who's going to come in and potentially be a starter in the future, because do we honestly believe that you've got your starting quarterback for the next 5 years?
Absolutely not.
So why not plan ahead?
Because there's no point planning ahead if we've got no protection.
But then you don't have to worry about that protection right now because he's not going to be starting.
So we still get killed. Oh yeah, Sam
we still need to win games.
Yeah, and I don't think your offensive line is that bad.
As soon as Sam Darnold
invested a huge amount in
what happens then?
Our offensive line is atrocious.
It's not, because
it is appalling.
Well, last season you had Charles Cross playing left tackle, Abe Lucas right tackle. I don't know who's in the middle or anything like that. But if you're picking a left tackle, you're replacing one of those two. I quite like Charles Cross. Abe Lucas is good from what I've seen of him. I don't necessarily remember.
I think it's been abundantly clear we need offensive line. The organisation know we need offensive line. We've come out publicly and stated. I mean, that was our downfall last season, and the whole rebuild after Carroll was going to be last year be defense first. When we win games, we win ugly because the offense is going to be makeshift, and this year is the start of the offensive rebuild. And I think we've got enough in quarterback to tie us over for a few years, and we're going to bide our time and wait for a QB in drafts to come or free agency or whatever, and that will then be our flagship QB. So I'm going with the offensive line pick of Ezri, please. With
Yeah,
the
I
18th
agree.
pick.
And the other thing, Finn, is you don't want to destroy Darnold's confidence straight away by drafting someone straight behind him. You know, he had it,
Exactly.
like you said, like you've already said, Dave. You know, he's had that multiple times previously. So you actually, see what you have with him. Give him a year, give him 2 years, give him 3 years. It's not the end of the world. Um, I think you have to go offensive line. I don't think there's any other pick for the Seahawks, if I'm honest.
It's a great pick.
Cool. So we're picking the guy who Mock Draft Database had number 49. So on their
Mock Draft Database.
That's who we're using to record our picks. Just saying.
Who cares about what one drafting has on it? Okay, whatever. No sour grapes there, Dave. On to pick 19. That is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Grapes. What are you talking about?
The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that is Punk.
Tampa Bay. Okay, so we really, really could do with a bit of help on our defense. So I'd be very happy to look at any cornerbacks. I'd be happy to look at linebackers, safeties. I'd like a tight end, but I don't think there is one floating around right now. So yeah, let's look on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe we haven't had a linebacker off the board yet. Are there any linebackers in this draft, or
I'll offer you a linebacker in Jihad Campbell.
We did, didn't we? We had Campbell.
Alabama linebacker. He's a captain for Alabama. He's a leader and he'll set a tone. I think when you're picking Campbell, he's a guy who I love him because he committed to go to Clemson and then said, "Nah, you're all right," and decided to go to Alabama instead. And I think one of the reasons that he's this low down is because of injury history. A lot of people have drafted him to the Colts, which for me doesn't make a huge amount of sense because I don't think he necessarily feels a need. But he's a consensus first round pick for everyone, and he's a havoc player. But people also have him going to the Bucs as well. You want a middle linebacker? Jihad Campbell is the best middle linebacker on the board.
He is the only middle linebacker that you're going to want to take in the first round. Yeah. He's who I would have picked as well. Yeah, he's a sideline to sideline tackler. The ball just doesn't go past him really, and it's going to fit in just right with Todd Bowles' defensive scheming in Tampa Bay. Your offense is pretty solid. Obviously, you hope that the Goblin comes back pretty quickly, but yeah, to get someone like Jihad Campbell in there, as Devin White is kind of moving out, I think it's probably the
Levante David.
And Levante David.
I mean, look who he's learning from as well, though.
Yeah. The only one I would say then is Starks as the other option. If you're looking at the middle of the defense, you've got Jihad Campbell and you've got Malachi Starks as well, who again can play both safety positions, but really cuts down the secondary for you. So you've got a kind of choice whether you want to take a linebacker or you want to take a safety who plays up and down.
Finn, any objections to me picking the linebacker?
None. I think it's a very sensible pick. Makes a lot of sense.
Have you noticed a pattern here that mine are nice and consensus picks and yours are all over the place and creating?
Yeah, I shouldn't have gone with evens. I'm regretting it.
Okay, so with the 19th pick of the draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers select Jihad Campbell, linebacker.
And now it gets interesting because pick 20, we have the Denver Broncos. And Finn, you have the opportunity to do something very funny indeed.
Yeah.
I will take a long snapper. Please.
Yeah,
we've just re-signed a long snapper from Boney.
Austin Brinkman from West Virginia.
You need, there we go. I'll take Austin.
You need some competition, don't you?
I suppose you do.
Snapper.
He did sign a 4-year deal, but yeah, crack on.
What else do you want other than long snapper then?
Other than long slapper, I would love a running back. A tight end would be marvelous. And then defensive, whether that be on the line. Or an edge would also be ideal to really kick on. Anything I've missed there, Dave?
Defensive line and edge are the positions we absolutely do not need. But I think we could probably go for a corner if we really wanted one, because Riley Moss has been off and on. I don't think he was necessarily over his injury when he came back. But yeah, I think edge and defensive tackle are very much our strong points. So yeah, I wouldn't be pitching anyone there in the first 3 rounds, let alone the first. So There was several interviews that have been done, and they talk about the word that they've used is they want a joker on offense. I don't think they're going to be picking up a tight end because we just signed Evan Ingram from Jacksonville, and Adam Troutman sitting behind him. So I think what you're looking at is either a wide receiver or a running back. So it's what's your poison. We're not going to be going Ted McMillan because we've already got Cortland Sutton. Matthew Golden is an option. And I think Omarion Hampton is probably the other option. So they're kind of the two that you're probably looking at. So Omarion Hampton is North Carolina. So he's managed to avoid Bill Belichick by 1 year. Lucky boy. And he's a huge, big, strong 3-down running back. Kind of what the Broncos need. The other option is a running back. You're really looking at a different type of player. What you're looking at there is the likes of Trayvon Henderson, who's much smaller, much more slender, much more of a quick back rather than being a power back. But I would not be mad either way at picking up Omarion Hampton or picking up Matthew Golden, either or. But they're really the only viable options here for me.
Jammy having a choice of these two coming.
Yeah, no, I listen, man. I don't see us going anywhere else other than these two.
You've only got 7 defensive linemen on your roster.
But I mean, we have.
According to Dave, they're all Superman.
No,
well, apparently.
I mean, in terms of defensive linemen,
we've got that's including your defensive ends as well. You've literally got 7 people to play on that.
John Franklin Myers, Nick Bonito, DJ Jones, Zach Allen, Jonathan Cooper, Malcolm Roach, Jonas Elias rather, Justin Chenard, who can play there as well, Jordan Miller, Matt Henriksen, Uzurike. I mean, I'm up to 11, so yeah, I don't know what you're looking at, but it's not right. There's more than 7.
DenverBroncos.com, so it's fairly accurate.
Yeah. Well, then what you're doing is not looking at the outside linebackers that play basically defensive ends.
Okay, so I'm not counting linebackers in your defensive line.
Outside linebackers. Well, we only play 3 up front, so
you've only got one defensive end as well.
If we've got 3 up front, we've got 2 defensive ends because Nick Bonito will come out and play defensive end as well.
Yeah, so you're doing that silly Dallas thing of playing linebackers as defensive ends,
and it works because Nick Bonito's got second amount of sacks in the NFL last year. So yeah, it kind of does work. But we only play 3 up front, so what that effectively means is if we've got 7, then we've got double the amount plus 1 more spare. So
should we assume that they're going to take Omarion Hampton because you don't have a running back?
Hampton are gone. We've got 2 running backs. One we drafted last year, and Audric Estime, who's okay. Tyler Bidet got injured after about week 4 or 5 and never really came back. And Jaleel McLaughlin is a good 2/3, but we need a 1. And they talk about
surely that's Blake Watson. Come on.
Omarion Hampton could go 12 to the Cowboys if they want to take a running back.
Good.
So, absolutely.
Good, but all right, let's go with
running back is on the board.
Yeah, it's what we need.
He's who I would have picked for you guys. So Omarion Hampton goes to the Broncos. It's the Steelers.
Oh look, it's the Steelers.
Aren't you lucky?
How on earth did that luck out? Right, Steelers, you need a lot. You need running backs, receivers, quarterbacks, quite important in this day and age. Defensive line could do with a tweak. Now, where do I want to go? I don't know, actually. I mean, I'd love to go quarterback, but I don't think I can at this point.
They need one.
Go with the lad that Dave was talking about earlier.
Jackson Dart.
Jackson Dart.
Again, he's not a round 1 pick. If he falls to us in round 3 at the moment,
then you might go
7. People have got him going at 7.
I think we're probably looking at either a running back or a receiver. I think we're kind of in that realm now.
We've got DK and we've got George Pickens. We don't need them.
You've got DK and Pickens. What have you got as a running back? You haven't got anything as a running back, have you?
We haven't, but he's just taken Hampton away. And I think he's the only other.
Is there no other running back?
There must be others.
Got some grades?
There are. I mean, my favourite would be Caleb Johnson, who's a real kind of power back. Dave likes Travion Henderson, who is a much more skittish back at Ohio State. Not as good in production as his teammate Quinton Judkins, but
if we look at the entire board currently, then, because we're in that awkward position of the early 20s where when the real elite's off the board now. So if we're looking at best player available, who is it and where are we? You know what? Mike Green kind of feels like he might be a Steeler type player.
Well, you're looking at Ted McMillan, Mike Green, Matthew Golden, and Malachi Starks. I'll offer mine first. I think Derek Harmon. So Derek Harmon is a defensive lineman for Oregon. I've seen a lot of him simply because I spent a lot of time watching Bo Nix. He is a wrecking ball through the middle, and I think he can probably develop to play nose tackle. Cam Hayward's not going to be there forever. I think it's been 14 years that he's been in the league now.
Yeah.
And he drafted someone a couple of years ago. I can't remember what his name is though. He was like a second round pick, and I don't feel like he's really developed into being the stud guy. I think Harmon can come in and really help that defensive line. And there were numerous occasions last season.
Keanu Benson.
Keanu Benson, yeah.
Oh, he's great.
So there's a couple of times last year when we saw, you had that fall apart towards the end of the season. We just lost game after game after game after game. And one of the issues that I saw was the inability to stop the short yard run. And Derek Harmon does that. And as you said, we have got it right for each of the last 3 or 4 years. And Derek Harmon feels like a massive upgrade on what you currently have. Now, I know, Jim, you don't like him, which is a shame. I don't like
him at all.
Because he is a massive fan of the Steelers,
I know,
which I'm sure will probably help. Derek Harmon being difference. Jim's not a massive fan of the Steelers. So, and we know how much stock is put on defensive talent with the Steelers. It's a defense first team. So I would pitch Derek Harmon. Now, Jim's going to bring on all of this nonsense about not a blue chip player, doesn't feel he adds much value, blah, 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 blah. I really do think he is. And I think he stands out, passes the eye test, and offers extreme value. And he's a player who has been drafted here by a lot of very well informed, very well informed mock draft analysts to come here at 20. And I was on that board before a lot of other people, probably aided by the fact that he's a Steelers fan.
I mean, the interesting thing there is that you have pitched a player in what we had as the number one position of need.
Oh, there you go.
Feels right.
Well, hang on.
Go on.
What I'd like to do, first of all, is propose a trade at this point, because us taking DK Metcalf has lost us a second round pick, and I would like to recoup a second round pick. I think if we look at one of the biggest positions being taken so far today has been tackle. And I think, as you can see with your eyes, and I think Dave would agree, there is one very good tackle here left on the board that quite a few teams will covet. And I would like to pitch that the Houston Texans, who just traded away Laramie Tunsil, will be desperate to move up 4 spots with the Steelers to take Josh Connolly from Oregon. I think we can afford to move down 4 spots, still take a defensive player, and get a second round pick back, which would then allow us to take a running back like Caleb Johnson.
I don't think Houston need to move up. I think they can wait.
I think they can wait.
I don't think you can wait, because the Chargers love picking linemen.
Chargers, Packers, Vikings are the teams that are directly above the Texans.
Chargers aren't picking a left or right tackle. Their line's solid. Their line's sorted. They picked up Joe Alt last year. They've got the other lad who they only drafted a couple of years ago, whose name I can't remember, which is really irritating. I don't think Green Bay do it, although they love a lineman in round 1. Let's not forget. Minnesota's line's fine. I just don't think they need to. If anyone does move up, it should be Houston. But I think Houston probably sit pretty and go, and they probably get in contact with the Steelers and go, look, if anyone rings you, ring us back.
Yeah, and I think that the Chiefs will probably phone up at some point because they want Josh Connolly. And they're kind of sitting there going, we really need the tackle. We need to help our window. We've got maybe 1 year of Kelsey left. We need to make sure that our O-line, now we've got rid of Joe Tooney, doesn't get any worse. After Josh Connolly, there isn't another kind of starting tackle in this draft. They're all, we should kick him into guard, or maybe one day he'll be a starting tackle for us. Mm-hmm. This is the last chance. So I'm pitching a team that's actually close enough that they don't cost them the world to move up and get it. And the Texans, they were atrocious last year on the line, and they've just got rid of their leading left tackle. So they're a prime candidate to help CJ Stroud out and put someone there like Josh Connolly that can actually help him out. So that'd be my first choice of what happened right now.
The Chiefs have just traded for Jalen Moore, though, from I think 49ers.
Not even a starter for the Niners.
But they've publicly come out and said that they've drafted him to be a starter, and they've also said that they
obviously
they've also said that they like Jermaine Taylor, who I think is absolutely rubbish. I mean, if they were prosecuted for pre-snap movement, he'd be they'd be on their own goal line every time.
You don't bring someone in and go, he was crap, but we had no choice. We just need to strengthen the thing. We didn't really want him, but we felt we had to put some extra bodies in the room. No, you want to move up at this point. Like I said, I think the Chiefs would want to, but I think the Texans can. I think that we can move down 4 spots and still pick up a defensive player like Derek Harmon or some other better players at defensive tackle, in my opinion. But that'd be my first one. So tell me if we can make that work or not. If we can't, I'll pitch a player, but that's what I would like to do, is pitch the Texans moving up to take Josh Connolly.
I don't think the Steelers would want to trade with a potential AFC rival either.
I think the Texans can sit this one out, and it'll still be on the board, I reckon.
My gut feel is the Texans can sit there and they won't have a problem. So why cost themselves something? Problem.
I'm pitching Josh Connolly to everyone now. You're making me okay. I have to pitch a player.
I'm making you pick a player. Right. Otherwise, we're going with Derek Harmon.
Please don't go with Derek Harmon, all right? Because he's not good enough. I really don't like him. It's a bit like what Dave thought with Shamar Stewart. It just doesn't pass my eye test. He just doesn't have any feel for the position. He just has to hit something. Like a bit like Mike Green, he's just aiming into the backfield and he'll hit whatever's first. And half the time he'll get it right. The other half of the time it's an embarrassment. So no, I don't like Derek Harmon. If I was going to pick a defensive tackle, it would be Kenneth Grant from Michigan. And I think that, or Walter Nolan from Mississippi, those two I think are much better technically than Derek Harmon. I think that the Chargers, you're looking at Jim Harbaugh, he wants to take his Michigan boys. He would have loved Colston Loveland at this point, but would he be on the phone for Kenneth Grant and move up 1 spot to make sure he got him off us? Possibly.
I think a good potential player for you to throw in there would probably be Malachi Starks, because you said he can play at strong safety, and I think.
But we don't need a safety.
I think you have a need a strong safety. But for me, I would pitch Harmon.
Well, okay, I'm having to pitch Kenneth Grant then, because that's who I actually did pick when we moved down. This is the other guy with Mason Graham, but I don't think he was
otherwise known as the other guy, by the way.
So Finn, what do you want to do? Do you want to really annoy Jim and pick Harmon, or do you want to throw him a bit of a bone and pick Grant?
Oh, do I go with my head or my heart?
Let's go with say Harmon, don't they? Say Grant.
They both say to annoy Jim. So
we're going Harmon.
Let's go with Harmon.
Excellent choice.
So, with the 21st pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers are selecting Derek Harmon, defensive line.
Let's see if we get 5 years running.
Don't like him and don't like any of you. So
to be fair, though,
feeling is mutual.
In the past few years, when you have said, when we've got it right, you've constantly said that you don't like that pick. So
right.
It happened. Najee Harris, we got that pick right. You said no, it's stupid. You said we were dumb and we were stupid to pick Kenny Pickett, and you said it's such a lazy thing to do, and we only did it to annoy you. When it wasn't, we were right, and that's what happened. Not saying it was a good pick, but we were right, and that's what happened.
I didn't say you weren't right either. I just said it was a terrible pick, and that was the last. That was Kevin Colbert doing those picks. So we've moved on from that. I don't want to be let down by Omar Khan. So okay, let's see how it goes. On to 22, and that is the Los Angeles Chargers. And Finn, you're up, mate.
I am on the clock. I'm happy with the trenches. We like to play hard and fast in that area, and I'm happy with what we've got. So for me, I feel we could use a bit of help in the tight end position, and also running back if there's any good ones going.
Better than that, an edge rusher, I guess.
Or an edge, yeah. That could also.
Seeing as we've just re-signed 397-year-old Khalil Mack for another season.
And Joey Bosa's gone now, right?
And Joey Bosa's gone.
Well, there is still Dave's favourite Mike Green from Marshall. I don't want to put words into his mouth about.
There's no way I'm picking Mike Green for the Chargers.
It's
bad enough Ashton Jenkins going to the Raiders. Could you imagine? I'd throw myself off a bridge.
17 sacks this season, Mike Green. Yeah. I think you should strongly consider that one, Finn. I was going to think about wide receiver because let's face it, apart from Palmer, McConkey, there's nothing. This is a great place for Ted McMillan or Matthew Golden to be taken.
I think in the lack of there being many tight ends, I think a receiver wouldn't be a terrible shout.
And Tet goes across the middle, as we said before, so he would be a perfect kind of slot receiver. Although, does he do too much of what Ladd McConkey does? I think maybe Matthew Golden might be a better option there because he's a different kind of receiver to Tet or to Ladd McConkey. So I'm going to pitch Matthew Golden as a proper receiving threat there for Herbert to aim at.
I'm going to pitch two players because I think Jim's pitched the wrong wide receiver. I think Ted McMillan is the right wide receiver only because he will be a player that will flourish in the shorter game because of his big body and catch radius. So I think it should be Ted McMillan. They've already got that kid they picked up last year, whose name I can't remember again, Ladd McConkey, who basically is a yards after catch, small, fast receiver, and Ted McMillan is the exact opposite of that, and variety is the spice of life. So that's one option. The other option, I'm going to offer a player we haven't mentioned yet, only because I love his name, Cam Skattebo. And the reason I'm mentioning him, he is a running back. He's also plays for Arizona State, who Ted McMillan plays for, so they both play for the same team. Last year, 1,700 rushing yards on almost 300 attempts. He was the go-to guy, 21 touchdowns. He is a first-round talent. I'm a huge fan of his, and if Denver go for him, I'm happy as well. So if you want running back, and running back, by the way, is an absolute need for the Chargers, and we know how much they value the run game, Skattebo, otherwise, Ted McMillan.
J.K. Dobbins did pretty well. I've already said that Ted McMillan is basically Ladd McConkey, so go for Matthew Golden, who's the better wide receiver. Cam Skattebo is great. He's just not a first-round talent, unfortunately. Maybe in some other drafts he might be, but he's definitely a Jim Harbaugh type of guy. I just think you'll better pick him up later on. He'll fall because he's just not tall enough. He's great at just fighting. He reminds me of lots of Rex Burkhead at the Patriots. Just won't go down.
Completely different player, but okay.
He's a wide receiver. He's a white running back that doesn't go down. So there we go, Rex Burkhead.
So
in my opinion,
that feels like a good fit to a Harbaugh team.
Yeah, but I just think you're looking.
He's a white running back who doesn't go down.
But you're talking about the third running back taken off the board when you've got the choice of all of the wide receivers. Now, as I said, Matthew Golden's my favorite wide receiver. He's the proper deep threat talent that you want to pair with Ladd McConkey.
Your main reason of not going for Ted McMillan is because he's very much like Ladd McConkey. Completely different.
They're not. They go back. They go across the middle.
Yeah, one's a slot receiver and one's a big-bodied receiver. They're completely different.
But Ted still goes across the middle like a slot receiver.
He could play outside
He's
as well.
6'4", but I just think Matthew Golden's more polished at that.
Matthew Golden's a more downfield threat. I agree.
I would say that a bigger-bodied receiver is closer to a tight end style, which is what we initially came in looking for. If there's a big-bodied receiver there, I think I'm discounting the running back entirely at this point. I think we can pick running backs up in second, third, fourth.
I just want to say Skattebo.
He is great. I love Cam Skattebo.
You just wanted to get him in the pod, didn't you?
That's all it was. Yeah.
I think
I offered you two players.
It feels a bit, Finn, like pick your poison. Just think really around the way the Chargers play, and I think you would go with the big body receiver, but it's your choice.
Can I just say on Cam's category, by the way, just to mention, average last year 144 yards per game.
That's very good.
It's not bad going, is it?
Amazing.
I mean, the other option, of course, is you ignore all of that and go with the edge rusher.
No, shut up.
Just
that would spite Dave.
That would make things spicy.
You're breaking up. Can't hear you. Right, Finn.
I think because we came in here looking for a tight end, we're going to take what we can get in wide receiver that is close to a tight end in a big body guy. So we're going to go Tet McMillan, please.
Okay.
Whoever does pick up Matthew Golden, by the way, at this point is getting incredible value.
Yeah. Okay, so we're on to the Green Bay Packers at 23. Punk, you are Brian Gutekunst. So no wide receivers, please.
How very dare you? No. Well, wide receiver is a possibility, but he's like in our fifth or sixth choice, fourth, fifth, sixth choice. I think from a Packers point of view, we want to look at that defense. We definitely want to look at cornerback. We give up, looking at our division, we've got lots of receivers that can catch the ball. We need to either shore up the defensive backfield or we need to be able to get after the quarterback. So anything that's around a cornerback, an edge rusher, or a defensive lineman would be my pick. I understand Mr. Green is still available.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one option. Is there anything cornerbacky that's still around? Or
Trey Amos is my favorite cornerback who's left. I think he'll go early second. He's Mississippi. Absolutely just complete ball hawk. The downside of that is the fact he does get burned with picks every now and burned with balls over the top every now and again. In college, he's got away from it. He's going to need someone who's going to sort of calm him down and actually, set on the ball a little bit more. He's better facing the ball than he is behind, so he's better playing zone rather than man. But I think he fits in quite nicely with the NFL in terms of his style of play because his movement and actual, I don't want to say hip swivel, but you get what I mean. His ability to actually change direction is really good. He's also good at coming up the line and actually pass rushing and off the tackle as well. You can leave him one-on-one, and in that division, you kind of need that. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Trey Amos. If you want a corner, otherwise just go Mike Green. I'm going to shut up about Mike Green, but he's the other option.
I do think a cornerback is the right one, but I think the person that I would pitch would be Maxwell Hairston from Kentucky, because talking about quick, he ran a 4.28 40. Really physically gifted. Only slight issues. He's a little bit weak on the tackle, but I think that Hairston actually, if you're looking for a long shutdown corner, you're probably looking at. I just think personally, Hairston's got the speed to outdo Trey Amos, and they do need some more cornerback help. I mean, Alexander's getting on a bit and complains about new contracts all the time, doesn't he? Eric Stokes as well. They're a bit light at corner, shall we say? So we're looking at kind of which one you like more out of Trey Amos and Maxwell Hairston, really.
I'm going to go. Well, the division we're in, we're playing the Lions, we're playing the Vikings. We're playing the Bears. They've got receivers. I think it's important that we have speed as well as ability. So without knowing too much about them, I'm going to go with the speed. So I'm going to go with Hairston.
Okay.
So with the 23rd pick, the Green Bay Packers pick Maxwell Hairston.
Okay, on to pick 24. And that is the Minnesota Vikings. Now, this team only has 4 draft picks. Is it possible that someone wants to move up with the Vikings to take Josh Connolly?
Well, it could be the Texans.
Could be the Texans because,
Texans,
like I said, the Chiefs
could be the Chiefs.
Chiefs are down at 31. It'd be a hell of a move to go and get him, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility.
How
Josh
many
Connolly
was
is a starting tackle?
What's the Chiefs' draft capital like?
It's pretty good.
Disgusting. I think I like 9 or 11.
No, it's not quite that good.
You sure?
8. But they're 3 7th-round picks. So they got first, second, 2 thirds, a 4th, and then 3 7ths.
I'd want.
You'd have to give up a future second or something.
Yeah, you're going to have to do
get
something.
Yeah, you'd have to go.
If you are the Chiefs and you want to go all the way up to there, but the Vikings are desperate for more draft picks. They got this first round pick, then nothing until a third round comp pick, and then a fifth pick, and then a sixth.
What have the Texans got as capital?
The Texans, well, they're picking the one pick lower, but they have a second, 2/3, then nothing in the fourth, a fifth, and 2/7.
If the Vikings want picks in this draft, they're going to be better off trading with the Texans. I know it's only one spot.
It won't be a lot for one pick, will it?
Not really.
Maybe one more pick you get for that. You'll get one of the thirds because they won't give up a second, so you'd probably get the 79th pick for that.
It'd be like a third and a fifth for a fourth or something. There'll be something going the other way. You'll end up with or a third and a fourth and a fifth for a fourth or something.
I think the Chiefs are desperate enough that they would come up to get Josh Connolly. Which
I can see the Vikings train down for this.
Yeah,
because like you said, but it's
which one?
It's which one they go to.
But look, for argument,
we can make it work.
Should we say the Chiefs do that horrible thing where they jump up and take some all-pro player for the next 25 years?
Go on them.
I'm
happy with that.
I wouldn't. I'd say the Texans would outbid them.
How? Well, this is the thing. I'm not sure the Texans wouldn't outbid them, even though it's only one place. I think I agree with you, but I don't know.
Are we doing the Texans or are we doing the Chiefs moving up?
I think the Texans are absolutely desperate. I think they're absolutely, and I think they give them a third rounder in order to get the guy, and they've got extra draft capital because of the fact that they gave up and sent what's his face?
Oh, and let's be honest, we hate the Chiefs. So yeah, feck the Chiefs. It's the Texans.
There you go, Texans.
What Texans. Am I thinking?
Good boy.
It's Finn's pick anyway, but
I think that we all know where it's going.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Houston Texans have traded.
The Texans are swapping with the Vikings.
The Vikings get another third, we reckon, in this draft.
Yeah.
Probably the 79th pick.
And they'll probably go down again, to be honest.
And probably. So, are we taking Josh Connolly then? The Texans.
I think that's the general consensus.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Okay. And so now we've got to pick the Vikings now because they're at 25th.
So now we can do a swap with the Vikings and the Chiefs. The problem is I don't think the Chiefs want to come up for anything.
Well, no, you've just taken away the piece that they want.
Exactly. So
you're having the pick now.
Vikings, oh God. Okay, so we're going to look at trenches just because. But again, division we're in, cornerback's quite important. And we could do with a bit of running back help as well. So I'm thinking probably a cornerback.
I'm pitching players that I've already pitched before, so I go Trey Amos.
Okay. I'm going to pitch not Malachi Starks, but the other safety, just because he fits better for Brian Flores, and that's Nick Emanwori. He is a very versatile safety. He needs Brian Flores probably more than Brian Flores needs him, but he will make the most out of Nick Emanwori. So again, Malachi Starks will be an easy pick here at safety. You know, Flores loves to have his kind of exotic looks, but I think that South Carolina safety Emanwori is probably better at kind of executing what he wants. So that's who I'd be pushing for.
If you want a defensive back,
do you have any strong opinions either way on those two?
Emanwori is the best safety for me, but only because I think Malachi Starks is trash. If we're talking overall talent, I'm in Team Trey Amos. I think Amos is a significantly better player. They're two separate positions. I know they're both defensive backs, but let's not get them confused.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
If I think the higher upside
is Trey Amos as a cornerback that much higher in your estimation than Emanwori is as a safety?
Yes, because I believe you can pick up any old to play safety sometimes. Cornerback, you need a blue chip.
Throw me in there.
Yeah, if gone Finn, I'll go with that.
There we are. I like the sound of Trey Amos. I think
For me, Trey Amos would have already gone. So
the corner's the position of need.
Yeah, and as much as I love a Gamecock, I'm not picking up any worry anytime soon.
Right.
I think you're wrong, but there we go.
So with the 25th pick in the draft, the Minnesota Vikings pick up Trey Amos, cornerback.
Good pick.
And they picked up an extra pick for it as well.
And
so we're on to the LA Rams. No, Finn.
Oh, for God's sake. I really should have looked.
You really didn't look at the list, did you?
Jeez.
Come on, we've got to push through this now. So,
this is painful. I think corner, but that's got. To be honest, I think we're at the realm of best of the rest, which I think
there's still some really good corners.
I think we should go for Mike Green from Marshall.
I agree.
I feel Mike Green works.
Can I pitch two players, Mike Green and Matthew Golden, because they've lost Cooper Kupp. I know they've bought in. I know they bought in. Saggy Fitz? What's his name?
Who?
He's the wide receiver they bought in.
Come again?
Used to play for the Raiders, Devontae Adams. I know they bought in Devontae Adams, but I still think they need more help on the outside because Puka Nacua never goes anywhere near outside. He's very much playing inside and under. And Devontae Adams is good, but again on the outside he'll have more men dripping over him than one of my extras. So I think Matthew Golden is a viable option.
Tutu Atwell's name, for crying out loud.
4 Atwell. Tutu's a 4. Mike Green, I think is I'd be more than happy with a Mike Green going to LA, just as long as it's not Chargerville. Either of those two are fine, Green or Golden.
And I mentioned Mike Green, so
Green or Golden, pick a colour.
Yeah.
Green.
Good shout.
Green it is.
Mike Green to the LA Rams.
Okay. The Baltimore Ravens, Punk, who have 1 million picks in this draft.
Yeah, we can do pretty much whatever we like. So, what do we want? We could go anywhere on defensive end. We could do a bit of pass rush. Definitely need cornerbacks. Cornerback help would be useful. Other than that, I think we're in trenches again. So let's focus cornerback and pick up whoever's the best available, or we go defensive end, pass rush. I'll probably go. I don't mind either or. Best player available between the cornerbacks and the pass rushers.
Well, the highest rated one here is James Pierce Jr., edge from Tennessee. Extremely quick edge rusher. He's got lovers and haters, so you either love what he does or you hate it. I think it fits in with kind of the Ravens' way of playing. The fact they took was it Wiggins a couple of years ago. They don't mind a stick thin defensive player, and Pierce is just like that. But he's so quick that it sometimes rushes into problems because he's almost too quick for the play.
Over pursues.
Yeah, but at the same time, he causes problems, and if he can be the first disruptor, and then they've got good other players that can then come in and swarm, he will stop the way the play was supposed to go. If that makes sense,
Yeah.
So he'll disrupt the play, and then it'll be on for someone else to finish it off, basically. Not to say that he can't take down a quarterback; he certainly can. But I think he's if you're looking for an edge rusher in the Mike Green style, he is seen as very much a one-trick pony, but a very good trick in coming off the edge.
Good player. I'm going to offer you a defensive tackle. Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. The main reason being, I don't think it's necessarily a need for them, but let's have a look at what's just been successful. The Eagles, and what the Eagles do is consistently bring in fresh talent, young talent, not cost them a lot of money, rotate that defensive line, continue to bring pressure. I'd go for that. I'd bring in that extra depth and basically apply pressure through the middle consistently, as they tend to do. Eagles.
Finn, any preference on those two? I think I'm pretty sold on what I'm going to do, but your thoughts?
I don't really think you can. I think either or you're adding a decent player to the roster. I wouldn't say I necessarily have I'd be throwing my toys out the pram if you pick one over the other.
Cool.
So I'd go with your heart.
In that case, with number 27, the Baltimore Ravens will pick James Pierce Jr., defensive end. And extra pass rush. Reason I went pass rush is because we had that as the first position of need rather than defensive tackle, which was the fourth position of need. So
they just don't do it as much, do they? They keep trying, but I think they do need that edge pressure. Okay, the Lions.
They do with it.
Finn, we've only got 3 picks for you left.
I know. Pressure's on now.
What are we doing?
I mean, you could just almost
take
the other one.
This does feel like that, doesn't it?
Or
it does feel like that sort of situation.
I would still pitch Malachi Starks as a very good safety to look at. You know, they don't need offense. You say that. They don't need much,
let's
really.
be honest, they ended up last season with an entire defense of walk-ons, but
yeah.
I'm going to do exactly what I did with the last one and pitch Walter Nolan again, purely for exactly the same reason, for depth. At one point last season, they just say their defensive line was absolutely just decimated. Now, there is the possibility that you're going to say, well, can lightning strike twice? The one thing I don't want to be doing as a GM is being accused of ignoring the fact that lightning can strike twice, because if it does, you're screwed and you get an instant free pass if it turns out not to be great.
But
I'm a massive believer in rotating the defensive line, because I think bringing freshness in, and Philly have won 2 Super Bowls off the back of that. So I think bringing a player in who's going to help you on the defensive line with or without injuries is a big key. So I'm repeating myself and saying Walter Nolan or miss.
Well, let me bring back again Kenneth Grant, who is a bigger body than Nolan. And for Michigan, I think he's just higher up on most boards as a defensive tackle. I think out of the 2, most people are picking Grant above Nolan. I really like Nolan. I'm not going to say any. I like him much more than Derek Harmon. That's for sure. But I think that out of Nolan and Grant, I think Grant is the more. There's a higher floor, basically.
Who's the more of the unit?
Oh, Grant's bigger. If you want that in pounds, Grant's 331 pounds and Nolan's 296. I've got here.
So I'm inclined to go with Grant on the basis that
he's a massive space eater.
Love to dominate the lines. So because of that, I'm going to take Kenneth Grant at pick number 28, please.
Okay.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. The Commanders. Punk, your second team?
Clearly, we don't need anything because we are the greatest team other than the Raiders going.
Of course.
So,
naturally, yeah.
No, main areas we've got down for the Commanders are, again, pass rush, cornerback, possibly a running back if there is one. I don't know where we are now. I'm almost going to say best player available from that lot, defensive end or cornerback.
Well, I would, if you're okay, Dave, I'm going to pitch them Donovan Ezaraku as another edge rusher. We talked about Mike Green having his 17 sacks this last season. Well, Donovan Ezaraku got 16.5 for Boston College. He is not quite as quick as Abdul Carter, but he's not far off. He's got lots of moves to get through and just swallows up quarterbacks. I think he is one of those guys that's going to sneak into the bottom of round 1. This is a perfect landing spot for him. Burgundy and gold always looks good as well on the same guy. So yeah, Ezaraku as still a round 1 talent. I think I'm pitching him here for a reason. I think he's good enough.
I'm not going to go with pass rush. I'm going to offer Matthew Golden. We've said enough about him. Main reason being, I think at times last season there were times when if Terry McLaurin wasn't on it, then it was difficult for them to get going. I know they brought in Deebo Samuel as well, but with the three to four wide receiver sets that they often play, which they do, which really helps out Jaden Daniels and spreads the field. I think another player like Matthew Golden's really, really going to help them because their third wide receiver just frankly is not good enough. I mean, they've just had to go and pick up they've just had to go and pick up Michael Gallup. So there is a talent dearth there. He was a couple of years ago, but no, I'd offer Matthew Golden, and the value of picking him up, by the way, at this point is incredible. He's a player we were pitching to go very, very, very much earlier on.
He's my favourite wide receiver. I just think if you're looking at Dan Quinn again, you look at the type of head coach that you're trying to pitch for. He is a defensive coordinator, at heart. This kind of guy is, the kind of thing that gets you excited. And Matthew Golden is slipping. A lot of other wide receivers have slipped in this first round. That means there are going to be some available in the second round. We're trying to pick up the best available, and I think that Ezeraku is, of the edge rushers that we're talking about, this is the best one that's available. I really like him. I like
the Golden pitch, Dave. I do, because I think it's something I hadn't really thought about, but I think you're probably right in what you're saying about it would help Jayden Daniels again.
But you picked up Debo.
Yeah, but Debo's a little bit injury prone nowadays. He's susceptible to picking up the odd injury. Finn, would you say for the Commanders and our needs, bearing in mind I didn't think about wide receiver when I put this list together, would you think we would prioritize pass rush over receiver or vice versa? Now, I mean, the other thing is when you get in the late 20s, it's almost just best player available on the board. And if Golden slipped that far and you chaps are thinking he should be higher, I'm kind of tempted to go receiver, but I know he wasn't on the initial list.
I've got Matthew Golden on my big boards. This is regardless. This is talent board, regardless of position. I've got him as 12.
I think this is like you said, Punt, this is the position we're in now. It's Golden is the best player left. And so you go, whilst it wasn't a position we necessarily thought was of a high priority need, you're going, well, the value we could get here, another good quality receiver, you're not gonna say no, especially when we've had a year of seeing how good Jayden Daniels is and how he can throw. He's gonna perform and get the numbers.
But pass rush absolutely is a need. Let's not get away from that. But pass rush is their biggest
problem,
need,
isn't it?
Yeah,
that's a need that we highlighted from the outset. And the only reason I think that's now been thrown into this conversation is happening is because because Golden has slipped so far down, is that this conversation is happening. If he wasn't available, I don't think this would take half as long.
Yeah.
I think the thing that worries me about Ezeraku is that I think, Jim, you said something like he's probably a second rounder that I can see going in the first, which makes me kind of go, well, is he actually a first rounder or is he?
I think he's a first
one
rounder.
of those on the cusp players that he could go either way.
Yeah, he's been talked about as someone that is near the bottom of round one. So I thought this is like his area of where he's getting taken. Not that he's a round two talent. I think he's a round one talent. That if he slips into round two, there's only 32 picks you can do in round one. So someone's going to be picked in round two, but as a round one talent. I think that Ezeraku, like I said, I have him above Mike Green on my board. But again, I think Matthew Gold is that kind of X factor. Yeah, if you want to push on Jayden Daniels, then fine. But
yeah, and it's hard to get away from getting a value pick when you're in the late 20s, early 30s. You really don't expect to be able to pick up someone that it sounds like a lot of people are mocking at least top 15. So I think I'm going to do it. I'm going to go 29th pick. Washington Commanders select Matthew Golden, wide receiver.
I pitched him at 12 to the Cowboys, so that's a great pickup right there. That is a great pickup. Finn, the Buffalo Bills.
The Buffalo Bills. Now, I think if Commanders hadn't taken Golden, I think that would have been a sure put in there for the Bills. But we can't look past the corner. that to me is top priority. I also think defensive line, another edge wouldn't go amiss, but to me, corner's the big priority need.
Okay, Dave.
They have just re-picked up Tre'Davious White, though, haven't they? Although he is old man.
Yeah, but they're
Tre'Davious
very
White. Christian
they are very, very thin at corner. They
Okay.
don't have a huge amount at all.
Well, if you
Actually,
look
in the playoffs last year.
if you're looking at corner, the guy I've got highest on my board right now is Siobhan Ravel Jr. East Cal.
Yeah.
Main reason being, again, he's a guy who stood out playing at the lower level, stood out good at pass protection, passed the eye test. He's a guy I didn't actually watch during games. It was a research job, which is always full of peril. But you can just see the talent dripping off him.
I mentioned big games.
Played a couple of big games against the bigger teams, which is always good to see how he lines up. Leader on the defense, captain on the defense, stepped inside and played nickel as well, which I really quite like. But yeah, he just stood out as being the best player on their team.
He's 6'3". He's an absolute monster. I love him, but he did have the injury which cut his college career short.
Yeah.
Which means he goes in a bit like Josh Simmons. He's one of those guys. If he played the full season, he might well have been the top prospect.
And when you look at him, one of the major things that helps him stand out is the fact he's always got a towel hanging out of his back pocket, which means immediately you're able to spot him.
Yeah.
So which does help him. It helps him stand out. It's like when you're looking at Hufanga or their safety who the Steelers used to have, his name I can't remember. Because they've got big hair, you always remember and go, you can spot him straight away. And in college football, Polamalu, yeah, because you're able to see him straight away just because of the big hair. So it makes him easier to spot, and he's a guy who always stands out. So yeah, he would be my pick.
He's great. The other corner that you want.
Listen, Jim, is your number one corner. You've just said he's great. Let's get on with it, and that's his.
Yeah, but he's injury prone at the same time. So
what was
there
his
is
injury?
a guy. It was an ACL tear.
ACL, left knee.
Oh, okay.
Nothing nowadays.
Yeah, it won't kick off.
It should be should be fine. But Azariah Thomas is extremely good. He is like a JC Horn type press guy. So he just limpets onto your number one receiver and just shuts them out. Florida State. He just had a very good pro day, very good senior bowl. He's a disruptor. And I think that he's played the full season as well. So if you want to have a bit more safe, a bit more of a sure thing, then you'd go with Azariah Thomas. If you want to go with the potential unicorn, then you go with Savon Revel.
I think we're at that point where if there's a potential unicorn, you got to take it. So we will take Revel, please.
Absolutely. I think that he deserves to go in the first round. Again, if I had 1 million picks, I'd pick him for the Steelers. I wouldn't think twice about it. So there we go. We've got 2 picks left. It's the Chiefs who looked on in dismay as the offensive tackles got taken away from them.
No, shock horror! They didn't get what they wanted. What a shame.
They still might get something that they can use. So, Punk, it's you, isn't it? With your last pick.
Is. So for the Kansas City Chiefs, I will take the closest, newest zebra, please. Any ref I've got in my back pocket's always useful. So yeah, it's time to refresh the refereeing crews. Failing that, if I have to have someone wearing a helmet and pads, obviously offensive line would have been useful. Not sure there's anything left there now. Edge rush is always helpful. Defensive line, I really could do with a running back as well. To be honest, I haven't really got that running game going at all, despite Pacheco picking up 2.5 yards of carry and still being shouted about as the greatest thing since sliced bread. So, let's say offensive line. If there isn't an offensive lineman, I'm going to go for a running back.
You want to go first, Dave?
Yeah, I'm offering you a safety. Malachi starts because he's rubbish. You're getting nothing else out. You're getting nothing else out of me.
All right, well, very quickly, I'm going to go for a guy that actually is a tackle, and that's Donovan Jackson. Because we talked earlier about Josh Simmons at Ohio State being that shutdown left tackle. Well, I also said after 6 games, he was out for the rest of the season. So guess what the left guard did in Donovan Jackson? He stepped in as the left tackle position and was just as good as he was at guard, which was extremely good. He shut down a lot of the pass rush. He kind of just did exactly what you wanted him to do. It was pretty seamless. So Donovan Jackson is sneakily a guy that not only he can play at tackle, but we know he can play at guard. As a team that's just lost Joe Thuney, I think this is a perfect replacement, and a guy that definitely has the chops to be a round 1 pick.
Sold.
I think if they pick him, they're picking him with gritted teeth.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, they wanted a Connolly or someone that they thought would get down to them, but I think this is the backup option is Donovan Jackson.
That's what you want in the first round, a backup.
Well, it is when it's the Chiefs. So with the 31st pick in the draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Donovan Jackson.
And we come to the 32nd and final pick in the first round. Finn, the Philadelphia Eagles.
Absolutely.
What do they need?
Well, safety we've got. So immediately I'm thinking Malachi Starks. He's been on the board. He's been pitched earlier, so it feels like it would be good value. It's a position of need. Also, corner. Maybe some support on the offensive line as well. But I'll be completely honest, I'm struggling at the moment to look past Malachi Starks unless anyone can tell me or show me something else.
Nick Amon-Ra is a better safety, so I'd pitch him.
I would like to pitch as offensive line help Tyler Booker, the left guard from Alabama. This guy is impeccable in run blocking, and I think they've got a pretty good running back that they'd like to feed again this season, and also a pretty shifty quarterback. I think Tyler Booker is a guy that you want to look at seriously in the run game. He would be a perfect fit for him and for him to go there.
Up to you, Finn. I don't mind. I think if you were to put the big board together, who's the top of those 3 players?
It's a guard. He's the top guard in this draft. Let's put it that way. He's the number 1 guard because the thing with Tyler Booker is he fights in the phone box basically. He's so good at latching on to the defender and just not letting him anywhere near the quarterback. So he's a brick wall. He's an absolute brick wall in the run game as well. So he will create lanes and he'll protect your quarterback. So
I mean,
an interior lineman, you can't get better than Booker.
They all feel like Eagle type players.
Yeah.
So
I
don't think you're going to go far wrong with any of them, and they are the top 2 areas of need that we had for them.
Well, exactly. I think the top 2 areas of need. I think I like the idea of a safety, but I think when you've got a certain Saquon lining up in the backfield that's ready to tear through anything that you can do to help create new routes and protection also for Jalen, I think that's quite hard to look past. So with the final pick of round 1, the Eagles are going to take Tyler Booker.
Wow. Awesome. I think that's what I'd loaded as well. I think Tyler Booker's a great pick. And the usual, they're the most trenchy of trenchy teams, aren't they, for draft picks? So there we go. The Philadelphia Eagles take Tyler Booker at 32. And we have finished our mock draft. There we go. We had just two trades in there. So we went under the bookies, Dave, by half a trade.
I think we've nailed that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We've got all 32 spot on.
100% yet again.
Nothing.
We're getting a bit good at this.
I think it's good that Abdul Carter does slide a little bit because everyone has the Giants taking him at 3 just because he is probably the third best player in the draft, but that doesn't always work out that way. And I don't think the Giants need him as much as they need offensive line help. So everyone has Will Campbell going 4 to the Patriots, Carter going 3 to the Giants because they can't, if they're not doing trades, that's kind of how they have to do it. But I think there's some really good picks in here. Not happy about 21, but
I think 21's the best one.
I think we're going to see.
I think I'm comfortable with that. I'm really,
I'm sure you
really
are.
With that.
It might happen, but like I said, personally, as a Steelers fan, I would like us to move down in round 1 and pick up a round 2 pick so we can get a running back in round 2. Still pick up someone like a Kenneth Grant, who went at 28 in our draft, to the Lions. But there we go. That is everyone. So the next thing to do, obviously, is enjoy the draft. We'll be back to review probably night one, and then do our final pod of the season, reviewing the entire 3 nights of the draft. So make sure you're getting on to us now and telling us what you think of that mock draft, what we did with your team, just how badly did we mess it up. And also, yeah, make sure you're subscribing to patreon.com/finaldown to get all the notifications there. And yeah, catch up with our draft review coverage as well, because that's coming. But thank you very much, boys. Thank you very much, Finn and Punk, for being GMs. And I think you did a great job. Dave, as a chief scout, I think you did a good job. Didn't let too many personal feelings get in the way.
That's not true.
Oh, no, it's not true. I was just trying to be nice. But flagrantly biased. But
they're the same about you,
anyway.
Jim.
I know. I was just
unfortunately, you were so bad, Jim, but, you know, can't have everything, can we?
There's always one straggler, isn't there?
Exactly. So there we go. So until next time, guys, I've been Jim, that's been Finn, that's been Never Dave, that's been Punk Raider, and thank you very much for listening.
Could you click record? Could you click record just in case? Yeah.
Good.
No,
I'm not doing this twice.
We're not redoing this one. Yeah, not a chance.